Hi, I'm Denise Paris, co-founder of Hip About Health. And a lot of people ask us, what does Hip About Health mean? Now, HIP means that you're hopeful, that you're informed, that you're prayerful, and you're proactive about your health. Are you hip about your health?
I'm Joy, and I'm hip about my health.
Hi everyone, I'm Marissa Prophet, and I'm hip about my health.
I am Gail, and I'm hip about my health.
Hi, I'm Melissa and I'm hip about my health.
My name is Tony Stewart and I'm hip about my health.
I'm Stacy and I'm hip about my health.
I'm Khadija and I'm hip about my health.
I am Sandra and I'm hip about my health.
Hi, I'm Chandel Gums and I'm hip about my health.
Hi, I'm Alison Chester and I'm hip about my health.
Hi, I'm Marcia Rose, and I'm hip about my health.
My name is Dwayne Paris, and I'm hip about my health.
My name is Desiree Edgel, and I'm hip about my health.
I am Natasha, and I am hip about my health.
I am Charlene Prince, and I am hip about my health.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Gunrad, and I'm hip about my health.
My name is Carly, and I'm hip about my health.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are joining us today, whatever time it may be where you are joining from. Hip About Health is a global health and well-being community that has a global membership. The HIP community boasts professional health therapists and coaches, good health information, inspired and motivational individuals from all over the world who are on their various individual journeys and choosing to share their stories in our HIP community. At today's webinar, you will hear from and interact with motivated and hopeful leaders. You'll be informed by scientifically sound information. You'll be challenged to prayerfully consider health changes for your lifestyle and pushed to exercise proactively, intentionally making changes that are necessary for your well-being. So, with that in mind, welcome to the HIPAA 2020 webinar. We're blessed today to have people connecting from the UK, Guyana, United States of America, Nigeria, Ghana, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Germany, the Netherlands, and those are only the countries we've counted so far. We very well believe that we'd have people joining us from other places as we go. With that in mind, it is my privilege now to introduce you to the convener for today's webinar. Today's convener is Denise Paris. Denise is a co-founder and director of Hip About Health Limited. She's a nutritional therapist, a health coach, and a cellular medicine therapist. And somehow all of that makes me feel good already. Now, without further ado, as we are wont to say, let me ask Denise to take it from here.
Welcome, 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 welcome all. We're still in this stage of navigating through how we work Zoom and use Zoom as our platform for our meeting today. I am really excited about what we're doing here. If you give me 1 second. We have some great speakers on here, and one of our first speakers is Denise, as Alex said, the co-founder of Hip About Health. And one of our very first speakers that we have today is Henrietta Bledman. And I am looking for Henrietta at the moment on here. You are, Henrietta, sorry about that. I'm getting the though we did our practice and everything, as soon as we get on here is a totally different story. But yes, our first speaker today is going to be Henrietta Bledman, a very good friend of mine. She actually inspired me to, she was probably one of the inspirations for us to get this Hip About Health up and going, because I guess she's going to share quickly a bit about her own journey. But I heard Henrietta's story, and from that, seeing how she used natural therapy and all that she had learned, I was like, I need to dig into this. And well, HIPP got born. And so I'll leave now Henrietta to take over. So Henrietta, over to you.
Hi, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, welcome, welcome, welcome. So I am going to go straight away into my presentation about HIPP. You may have heard Denise referring to HIPP, and you may have seen the introductions, and I'm going to say trailer, although it's not a movie, several individuals saying their name and that they're hip about health. So today we are going to look a little bit, just a few minutes, kind of like an overview of what HIPP is. Yeah. Okay. All right. So HIPP, I know that we have two ladies reflected there, but it is not only about women. I just want to start by saying that. So as far as our legal status is concerned, HIPP is considered a limited by guarantee, which is a not-for-profit organization. HIPP was registered in 2017. So the co-founders of HIPP, as Denise would have mentioned, it's herself, Denise Paris, and myself, Henrietta Bledman. Now, we do not do all of this on our own, as you can imagine. We have what we call our leadership and strategy team, and that team is comprised of Mr. Kevin Dawkins, Mr. Alex Graham, Ms. Desiree Edgel, and Mr. Dwayne Paris. Now, these, along with Denise and I, work on the leadership and strategies concerning the HIPP organization. So for services that we offer, you can have the opportunity for excellent learning opportunities by webinars and seminars. You can have access to recipes. We know that being healthy is not only about eating, but because a lot of folks would not know like where to turn when they decide to change, let's say, their diet towards a healthier life. So you'll have access to a library of healthy cooking ideas and recipes, etc. You'll also have access to a database of research information, experts, health experts you can also access there. And not least of all, we have intercessors standing by, manning lines to pray with you. We know that there are a lot of us who consider living healthy or working to overcome one disease or the other. Their faith plays such a major part. And so we have our intercessors standing by to pray with you, to hold your hand in prayer, to lift you up in prayer, and to encourage you on your journey to overcoming whatever challenge that you may be facing. You can also have access to free HIPP About Health breakfast meetings. So now you might be wondering why. I mean, after having access to all of those things, for those of you who may still be wondering, why should I join HIPP? Okay, as I was just mentioning about people working to overcome disease, you can learn how to do so. And the range of disease are many. We know what's happening in the world today, from ones that affect us mentally and psychologically, which is depression, those that affect us physically, diabetes, those autoimmune diseases like cancer or even obesity, people who are dealing with that and have been over a certain amount of time. We are here to help you in that journey. So you will learn how to manage and to overcome those. You'll have exclusive access to hundreds of online courses, as was mentioned before. So you can tap in, even if you're not dealing with any disease at this point, but you just want to learn more, you can have access to that. There is also 1 hour of consultation with us, free. You can have a health consultation. You can have consultation on your nutrition. We have coaches there who will be able to do that with you. So initially you can have 1 hour free when you join HIPP. And there is also discounts on our products and services offered by our partners. And yes, we do partner with other organizations. You can also have free access to HIPP focus group meetings. I mentioned a few challenges, diabetes, cancer, uterine fibroids. We have different focus groups. So if there is something in particular that you want to focus on, there's a focus group there that you can have access to. There's newsletters. There are opportunities to hear testimonies, which will build your faith and will also encourage you, knowing that someone has walked that road before and you're not alone and you're not the only one. You can also become a HIPP About Health ambassador. We can give you information. We can train you on that as well. And then there's also insider access to all HIPP challenges, whether we're juicing, whether you're on the Daniel fast, whatever is going on, you can have insider access to that. Now, having said that, you're probably wondering how. Okay, there's a HIPP About Health website. You can contact us on email, info@hipabout.health.org. Our organization is about educating, inspiring, and motivating you to live healthier lives. It's not just about eating, it's not just about exercise, but holistically mind, body, and spirit, because we're not one-dimensional beings. So all around, we cater for each aspect of your life. Join us. HIPP About Health is a movement. Think no further, look no further. We are here and available to help you. And of course, please consider that your health is an investment and not an expense. Yeah? Consider your health as an investment and not an expense. You can do this. Thank you. Denise, over to you.
And let's talk a bit about what you were sharing just now on the on HIPP. Is there anything else that you wanted to add to what you were talking about?
Just to probably reiterate the importance of holistic health. I know for a lot of people, the first thing that comes up, or maybe in the ads or in various conversations, would be diet. You should eat this, you shouldn't eat that, you should be a vegetarian or not. And because of the integrative nutrition health coach training, we understand that because we are all biologically different, there is no one size fits all. You can have people who can remove meat from their diet and they become lethargic, and and then there are others who become more energetic by doing that. But then again, you can eat all the vegetables and your diet could be right. But if you go to work at a job that you hate, you wouldn't thrive. If you have a relationship that is toxic, you wouldn't thrive. Some people have all sorts of other things that really bother them. And so it's not only about eating, it's not only about managing stress and relationships, it's also about a spiritual practice. And so we need to look at the health of the body through the holistic lens, yeah? It is not one or the other, but it's a combination of it all, including movement, which is very important. And I'm not referring to hours at the gym. Half an hour of walking per day, just get up and move, maybe 15 minutes of some low impact exercise. This sedentary lifestyle we have for people who sit at the desk all day is wearing us down and making us ill in more ways than one. So just for folks to consider health as holistic, at least that's one of the messages that I'd like to ring through.
Well, we have, as I mentioned before, a packed program today, and we're going for a few hours. And one of the next speaker that we have is Terry Buter, and she is a nutritional expert and registered dietitian. A number of us actually, as part of the HIPP team, we got qualified with the Dr. Rath Health Alliance as cellular medicine therapists, and we met Terry when we were in the Netherlands doing our trainings. We were able to spend a few days with her. We were actually amazed at the depth of knowledge and experience that she has. So I know you're going to enjoy this particular session with Terry. It's going to be amazing. You're going to be awed, and I'm hoping inspired and motivated to take some of the stuff that she has on board and run with it. And we're going to make sure that the information is always available. As part of HIPP, most of our information is influenced by Terry and the Dr. Rath Health Foundation. So this is going to be a continuous thing. So you're not just going to hear what she says and then hear something else. So I do hope you enjoy. I know you will enjoy Terry. And
thank you, Denise, for your nice introduction. I also remember the days we spent in Heerlen in the Netherlands about the discoveries of Dr. Rath and the organization. And it was nice to meet you. And we also met, I don't know what year it was, 2 years ago in London.
Yes,
so,
this is our second time with us. So we're excited.
So my name is Terry, and I'm a dietitian and a nutritionist from the Netherlands. And a warm hello from the Netherlands to all that you're there. Thank you, Denise, for inviting me to be part of the event. First, tell a bit about myself. So in my practice, in my private practice, I see a lot of patients, people of all ages, all kinds of health situations. And very often they come to me with vague symptoms that have existed for many years. After I ask them about their health situation, then many diseases, many vague symptoms come. They tell about it, and over the years they accumulated into a disease that can eventually be diagnosed. Then our health system, in fact, is a sickness care. Health care is the sickness care with little attention to prevention. And that's what I like to do. Then if you can prevent people getting sick, getting ill, then you win a lot. That's the part of my work I do for the Dr. Rath organization. The focus is on prevention and explanation on the onset of disease. Then too often I realize that patients know nothing or little about their own illness, and even less about what they can do themselves to improve their health situation. So the dependence of our people on medical and pharmaceutical care will have to change. It has to be transformed into self-management in order to reduce the financial burden on our people and the financial pressure on the governments of our countries. I'm sure Paul Taylor, my colleague, Dr. Rath colleague, will address that topic in the event today. But in my presentation, I will address the immune system as Denise asked me to do that part today, boosting your immune system for good health. And that's what you see in the presentation, my first slide. Then, especially in the actual situation, we must look for possibilities to stay healthy. And if we are infected, then it's important to inhibit that infection as soon as possible with a strong and effective immune system that can stop multiplication and spread of the pathogen. This corona crisis, which has captivated the whole world for months now, has increased attention to measures to reduce susceptibility to infection. And with all hope and attention paid to developing a vaccine, we would almost forget that we ourselves can do a great deal to reduce that susceptibility to infection. Then our immune system is our own weapon to stop and to diffuse all pathogens and intruders. In fact, it is the only truly proven way to protect us. As effective as medication and vaccines are, they are only artificial ways to help us. So in my presentation, I want to address our immune system. Do we need to boost that? How do we do that? And I'll give you at the end of my presentation a natural, science-based natural alternative for vaccination. So now I have to go to my second slide. And that is not possible. Yes, here it's possible. Then our immune system is an active system, and there are negative factors and positive factors that have influence on our immune system. On the left, you see the negative factors, and I wrote a lot, so I look at my notes. So our immune system is a body's own protective mechanism that is sensitive to external and internal influences and needs to be maintained by us. And the production of specific cells and the cause of various processes can only take place optimally if we deal with our body in the right way. On the left, you see here a list of negative factors that affect our immune system. And you see that on top, I write malnutrition. That's because it's my hat topic I'm working with. And malnutrition, there also that belongs to alcohol, smoking, that's all part of malnutrition. Then there are a lot of other factors, more inactivity. I guess we will also talk about that today. Stress and fear, loneliness, no life perspective, sleep deprivation. That's in fact all factors where we live in at the moment. That's from the current pandemic we are suffering. A lot of people live in stress and fear. They live alone, no people around, no social contacts. Not a good sleep because of all stress and sorrow of world situation. That are all factors that have a negative influence on our immune system. On the other hand, on the right side of my slide, you see the positive factors, and that's what we are addressing today: a healthy diet, physical activity, good mental health, social contacts, future perspective, a good sleep-wake rhythm. It's precisely because also of the fear and stress that our need for good food with an optimal quantity of nutrients only increases, because the factors on the left side only makes our body need more nutrients than without the stress and the fear. Staying indoors with poor nutrition, few social contacts, a lot of stress. That's not good for us. Our immune system should not be active all the time. And on the left side, you see the low-grade inflammation as a factor, a negative factor on our immune system. That is, in fact, a big problem for a lot of people. Then our immune system should get active if we need it, and not all the time. And in a situation with low-grade inflammation, the immune system is active all the time due to our environment, lifestyle, diseases, use of chemical drugs, allergic reactions. Then during our lifetime, we store all kind of waste materials, which we should remove by our detoxification organs, liver and kidneys. And waste substances are mainly stored in our fatty tissue and can put considerable strain on our system. The most commonly known symptom is obesity, with adipose tissue being stored around the organs, and the inflammatory activity that occurs in that adipose tissue strains our metabolism. It prevents weight loss, is seen as a risk factor for various diseases. And this so-called low-grade inflammation seems to be an important negative factor for our metabolism and a cofactor for a lot of diseases and health situations, like I call it obesity, but also diabetes, rheumatic diseases, inflammatory bowel diseases, all kind of food environment allergies, but also low-grade inflammation seem to play a role in development of Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease. And that could also be the reason that elderly people or people with a chronic disease, an infection can multiply and spread more easily, causing severe health problems and even death. Then if our immune system is not awake enough or not able to react fast in a proper way due to distraction or tired because of other chronic activity, the reaction comes too slow or late or not effective enough. And in the meantime, the pathogen can cause a lot of harm. So that's low-grade inflammation. That's a big problem where a lot of people have to deal with, and you cannot see it in the blood. That are very low markers. So it had nothing to do with an infection like urinary infection or so, or a bacterial infection. It's a kind of constantly active inflammation in our body, causing a constantly activity of the immune system. That's not good for us. Let us have a closer look at the immune system, made for overall protection. So it's on the right side, you see an overview of all organs involved. And on the left side, an overview of all cells that should be produced. And you see that's a cooperation of two immunity systems, one for rapid response and one for slow response. And the innate immunity response is the defense that we were given at birth. So you see the natural killer cells, you see the macrophage. I don't know if you see my cursor, but there's a lot of cells that are produced to react very quickly if there's someone attacking us, a kind of a bacteria or a virus or a yeast or whatever is attacking us. Then it's our first line of defense is the skin, the lining of the organs, also the mucus inside our lungs, and but also tears. That's the first line of defense, and the second defense is the blood cells in the blood, the lymph, and the tissue. So what we see here, that is the second line of defense where our body is reacting. Our immune system is detecting the attacker, the pathogen, and is producing those cells to get rid of them. The adaptive immunity, that is an immune system that slowly but surely develops over the course of our lives. Upon contact with pathogens, antibodies are produced, which the immune system remembers on the next contact. It's on that principle that most older vaccines have been developed, that antibodies are produced so that if in the next contact with the pathogen, our body knows, remember and knows who he is and attacks very quickly. So the adaptive immunity is gets some help from the innate immunity to capture the intruder, to get rid of them. So that's the slow response we also see in a few days between the first contacts with pathogen and the reaction of our body. So it's important that a quickly rapid response to prevent the pathogen from spreading and multiplication. Also, you see in the middle, the T cell and the natural killer T cells, they helping each other, those two parts. It helps the innate immune system, helps activating the adaptive immune system. The innate system produce cytokines that are chemical signals, and with that chemical signals, the adaptive immunity system is helped for getting active a bit quicker. And after activation, you see the T cells in the middle of the adaptive immunity in the picture. The T cells produce more cytokines to activate the B cells. So it's a very complex situation, mechanism, but highly effective if it's optimally supported and nourished and therefore able to function optimally. You also see in the right, there are a lot of organs that play a role in the immunity system. Here are a few pictures of cells involved in the immune system, the leukocytes, the macrophages, the T cells, all types of white blood cells together with the immune system organs respond in a coordinated way to every type of infection. The white blood cells are formed in the bone marrow, and the production of all immune cells utilizes specific vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients. The first line of defense against pathogens come from types of white blood cells known as monocytes and macrophages. You see it, the second one on from the left, that are the cells who they eat other cells. So eat invaders, destroy them. And so they have different functions in the body, but all work together a very good way, but all dependent on the good nutrition. In this vicious circle on the left, we see also that nutrition is critical. So undernutrition is leading to less immunity with a higher risk of disease And when an infection or a disease develop, then because of less appetite and less nutrient absorption, but on the other hand, more calories needed to fight the infection and an increased energy need, then you get a relative undernutrition because of less intake of nutrients. Then the body gets less than what it needs. So the immunity goes down again with a bigger risk of disease. So it's a vicious circle showing us that malnutrition or an unhealthy diet, this doesn't have to do with nothing to eat, but an unhealthy diet leads to an increased risk of disease and reduced appetite due to illness, increased need for nutrients. But on the right side of the picture, you see immune supporting nutrients. There are a lot of them. Proteins, dietary fatty acids, and probiotics that are perhaps the biggest ones. So the macronutrients, proteins to build all kind of enzymes and all kind of the tissue to get a stable tissue. The dietary fatty acids, probiotics, well known for a good system, good immune system in our bowel. But there's a big list of micronutrients, and then a few of them you probably know. So vitamin C is very well known, selenium, zinc is well known, iron also. There are other plant components, natural compounds, quercetin out of red onions, for instance, and lysine and amino acids, and EGCG, green tea extracts. So there are a lot of substances and nutrients important for our healthy immunity. For probiotic, I made some notes. So it's called our second brain. Then our immunity is a part of our immunity is also laying in our bowel, because everything inside our digesting system is still outside our body. That's sometimes my patients sometimes are very they have a big question mark. So how do you mean outside our body? But all what's in our bowel has to be absorbed to get inside our body. And there's a line of defense, the inside of the bowel, that's with bacteria, good bacteria, and that is the reason the probiotics are part of the immune supporting nutrients, and also the prebiotics, the food where the bacteria are living from. About vitamin D, I could I guess you all heard about the articles and the background about vitamin D, especially for COVID-19. That is very important that we all should take vitamin D. That is important because, and it's easily to explain, because vitamin D is we get vitamin D out of the sun, but there has to be sun. In the Netherlands, it's not always the same as in the Caribbean, but we have to have the sun, and we have to be outside in the sun. And in the last month there was perhaps sunlight, but because of staying inside and fear and not coming out and meet other people, a lot of people had not the contact with the sun, and therefore not enough vitamin D. So that's the the reason that a recommendation for enough vitamin D at this moment is very important. The other one here. This picture shows the need of nutrients in different stages of infection. You see on the left at the start of infection, then the incubation period, so a few days before we develop fever or that we feel ill. And in that time, in that few days, the lower blood level of amino acids, of iron and zinc already, retaining of phosphorus and zinc. So, and if we develop fever, then you can measure, if you could measure it, there is a deficiency of magnesium, potassium, sodium, zinc, sulfates. And then in the recovery period, we have to restore the metabolic balance. So it's our body loses in times of illness a lot of nutrients. And therefore, it's very important that after we get ill in the recovery period, but better before, we take a lot of vitamins and other nutrients in our food. Let's see the difference between a bacteria and a virus, because the COVID-19 is a virus. It's very small. If you see how big a bacterium is in compared with a virus, then it's a totally different situation. That's also totally two different kind of pathogens. They can both make us ill. And in fact, we are living also with bacteria and viruses. So they're around us every time. So it's not that it's, oh, no, one back. So bacteria are very big in compared with the virus. They're living organism. They have their own cell machinery inside for reproduction. They're not, they don't have to have a host like a virus. A virus cannot live on its own. It's very small, but it needs a host. Then it hasn't got all what it needs to live. It needs a host cell, and therefore it uses our cells, our human cells or animal cells. Animals can also have a virus infection, but viruses are around us all the time. And that we see in the next picture I already showed, then we are constantly exposed to viruses. It's not the first one we met. Coronavirus is in 2020 or COVID-19, but there were several years that viruses attacked us, and we dealt with it. So a common cold, an avian flu, another avian flu, and with the COVID-19, the world is facing another threat. Mobilize efforts for treatment, and while discussions center around finding an effective antiviral drug or vaccine, the world seems to forget that our body and its resources are the most effective weapon against viral flu in all its forms. Let's have a look at it. What is a virus? Here you see the flu virus and the coronavirus on the left. Tiny, made of genetic material, and you see the different protein, the color spikes that viruses need to infect the cells. They have to, like a docking station, they have to make contact with the cell and get inside and take over the software of the cell. And if viruses are not stopped, they can damage our body organs. So an infection should be the first step for activating our immune system, and if not, they can really do us harm. They hijacked our biological systems in the cell, and then they can multiply until they destroy the whole cell, and then the cell splashes open and spreads all viruses through our body, looking for other cells to infect and starting the process over again. So taking over the software and spreading and multiplying. Let's see how viruses infect our body. So the aerosols, that's a topic we hear it often in discussions. So first, it's a mild fatigue. We get in contact with the viruses over a droplet. We don't notice it. It's leading to a cough and a cold and perhaps a bit mild fatigue. But if the virus is inside, they find a host cell to infect. Cold virus, flu virus will attack our cells in the same way the COVID-19 flu is infecting us. It's most of the time over the cells in our lungs, but it can also infect us. A virus can infect us over the digestive tracts in our bowel. Because influenza viruses have the capacity to mutate and undergo changes in their surface proteins, they may change into forms of the virus that are able to infect more easily and pose increased danger to humans. And that's if you get a cold, then it could be that you think it's a bacterial infection. And a bacterial infection you can fight with an antibiotic, but that's not the case for viruses. So we have to ask ourselves, what is the use of an antibacterial hand wash stuff in this fight against the COVID-19 virus? So it's not killing the viruses if we wash our hands with the antibacterial hand wash. Oh, that's crazy. Oh God, oh God. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. So, oh my, where am I? Sorry. Here. I skip one. Yeah. What makes a virus dangerous? Then a normal cold isn't that dangerous. We can handle a normal cold. But if we look at this picture, you see that there's a small mutation needed to change a normal influenza virus into a very dangerous virus. This example is a Spanish flu that just, you see it on the red arrow on the left, in the left corner, left down corner. There's just one mutation of only one single amino acid in the protein chain of a spike, so a surface protein, that changes the influenza type virus, a normal, not that dangerous virus, into a Spanish flu, and there were a lot of people killed. So it's very difficult to develop a vaccine for this kind of viruses. So a few weeks ago, there were also in the Netherlands, there were this flu vaccines. Every year there's a new flu vaccine, and we got a written article. So did you know that only the flu vaccine only reduces the risk of getting the flu only by 40%. 40%. So there's still a risk of 60% to get the flu, the normal winter flu that is infecting us every winter. So, and if you get the flu, then there was written, if you get it, then it could be that you have a few less symptoms than you would have had without the vaccination. So it seems an impossible challenge to develop a vaccine because you don't know which kind of mutation it will bring next year. So that's why every year there's a new flu vaccine that people should get for a new protection, hopefully for the ones that we had, that we already know, and hopefully a bit in the direction that the mutations are not that big. Back to the picture that I already showed. So we look at the positive factors. How can we take care of our immune system? So let me start to say that healthy diet is not, it's not getting weight loss in a short time as much as you can. Because of that, we are not getting healthier at this moment. Despite the fact that obesity is a risk factor, and a lot of people are very scary about it and want to get rid of the extra kilos at once, but a balanced diet is more important than getting rid of 20 or 30 kilos in a short time. So at this moment, I'm recommending staying on the weight you have, take care of a healthy diet and helping your immune system to get to stay healthy and not getting rid of your kilos. So if we look at immune supporting nutrients, I made a kind of translation to what kind of nutrients then very important, and I focused on the vegetables. So there is a bit of red meat for iron, but also you can also get your iron out of other basic food. But you see here vegetables, 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 and that's the big thing people have to look for more vegetables, because in the Netherlands we are recommending 200 or 250 grams of vegetables each day, but I guess only 10% of Dutch people gets that amount of vegetables daily. So you can recommend 200, 400, 500, what you read last days, but they not even reach the 50 grams, a lot of them not. Plant-derived oils, also very important, eventual fatty fish, herring, but also nuts, butter, and dairy, eggs. So you can do a lot with vegetables and plant-derived food. So it's great that vitamin D is advertised at the moment, but it's not the only one we need, and it's not a miracle nutrient. And that is where the Dr. Rath organization comes in. This is a picture of the research institute of the organization. And above in the left side, the women you see is Dr. Nitswicki. She is leading the institute. And there they find what is the best combination of nutrients to do that what we want them to do. In this case, to improve our immune system and to fight the bacterial or viral attackers. About vitamin D, also, of course, they also test and conduct studies about vitamin D, but most of the time, vitamin C is the main nutrients they address in the studies. Because vitamin C is an all-rounder, and I guess you know that vitamin C is a nutrient. We people, we do not produce any vitamin C, not one molecule. So but we need vitamin C for a stable connective tissue, for the construction of our bones, our blood vessels, our organs, our skin, but also for the production of stress hormones. We need a lot at the moment. Detoxification, we also need it a lot, and also for a healthy immune system. So my light is going on. Thank you. My husband is taking care of me. And you can imagine vitamin C is robbed by the production of stress hormones like the adrenaline, and there's little left for other functions when we have a lot of stress. So how much vitamin C do we need? 70 or 100 milligrams are the official recommendations, but most of the times we need a lot of more. Suggestion is about 2,000 or 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C daily. And that could be even more in chronic situation of diseases. That could be up to 20,000 milligrams. But that are amounts that cannot taken by in oral intakes. We have to do that intravenous. But that's where the research institute comes, because they, here on the left, down on the left, the Dr. Rath as the head of the organization, they did also studies about the influence of a nutrient mixture on influenza and bird flu. I see that I take a lot of time. Micronutrients have, they work together for our immune system. So here on the left, you see illustrated the virus attacking, entering our cells, taking over the software, multiplying, spread the infection, and to get their way, to make their way through our system, through our connective tissue. The cell is producing a lot of enzymes to destroy the collagen, so to get their way into the body. Micronutrients help our body to fight those viruses and other pathogens. So here you see a few of them, but you see vitamin C, vitamin C, vitamin C, vitamin C. That's an all-rounder coming back every time. They, in the research institute, they conducted some studies with micronutrient combinations, so that we don't have to take an extreme amount of vitamin C. So those 20,000 milligrams are not needed. There's even a risk of an imbalance, a disbalance, if you take a lot of micronutrients in that way. So it's the combination that's important. That's very important, to stay in balance in our metabolism, and to make the combination with vitamin C and all the others, with zinc, with the green tea extract. And they did already some studies with flu viruses and in infected cells. So you see here in the graph that the multiplication of viruses was stopped, but only with a lot of micronutrients. The higher the concentration, the more effective was the concentration against the viruses. Those kind of publications, like this one, you see that the vitamin C for a human flu virus is doing the job, but only for 20% decrease. And here you see the nutrient synergy is doing the job a lot better with a 71 decrease. It's not saying that the nutrient synergy combination is killing all viruses and that you're not sick anymore, but it's doing a job without negative side effects. And that's very important. Decreasing multiplication of human flu viruses, and also the protection of the cells, that cells normally are killed after infection by the virus. And with they made a comparison with cells, infected cells treated with Tamiflu. That's a drug, a chemical drug that is used for viral infections. And amantadine is also a drug that's often used for a kind of treatment for viral infection. But here you see that the amantadine didn't do anything, and the Tamiflu could reach 50% of cells protection, but the micronutrient combination reached 90%. That's so far better. But what I said, without negative side effects. This is the way the coronavirus attacks our cells. It has a receptor binding domain, that's a spike, and it's making contact like a docking station and the receptor on the cell surface. Also in the development or the search for a virus for this vaccine for this coronavirus, the researchers of other institutes are looking for this ACE2 receptor because they want to block it or they want to prevent cells to express this receptor. And that is exactly what they found in the institute, that the micronutrient combination could also also affect this binding and expression of this receptor. On the bottom of my slide, you see the address of the Dr. Rath research.org. That's the site, the website of the institute, where you can find also the publication, this one, but also other publication from all researchers that are working over there. If you write it down, or you afterwards you can ask Denise, I guess. Denise can give you the address. So here are a few slides with, they did some tests with vascular cells, with lung cells, and what was very important, they noted that the results with lung cells in inflammation situation, which we have a lot in critical sick people, then the nutrient mixture even was more effective. So the middle, the picture in the middle is the same one as the one on the right. No, just the picture in the middle, the blue columns are in the right picture are the light gray columns, and the blue ones are them with the TNF alpha, that is the inflammation factor, where the nutrient mixture even decreased the receptor expression even more. So that's my last slide. Then there is not only hope, but there is scientific proof that we have an alternative for not waiting for the vaccine to develop. We have an alternative, a natural, science-based alternative to do ourselves something to help our immune system, and if we are in contact with the vaccine, to get rid of it very quickly, attacking it and killing it. Take advantage of this knowledge and stay in good health. Don't fear. We're on, and the scientists in the Research Institute of Dr. Rath Health are very convinced that we will win the battle. I thank you for your attention. I'm over 10 minutes over the time I got, but I don't know if it's a problem, Denise.
No, it's fine. I think we do have one question. Remember, you guys can put your questions in the Q&A section. We have one from Vera, who is a representative of the Dr. Rath Health Foundation in Uganda, I believe it is, right? He's asking, how long does it normally take for a certain virus to mutate?
Oh, that can go very quickly. I already read some articles that the coronavirus we had in March this year is already mutated, and we at this moment we have another one. So that can take weeks or months, but in fact, a year for the normal flu viruses. Then every year we need another vaccine, a newer vaccine. And yeah, so we don't know. We don't know. It's not a question of days, but it's a question of weeks or months, I guess.
Right. Okay. Are there any more questions anybody have? Terry, thank you very much for that. I know it has been very informative. We've had some comments mentioning that. So thank you very much for that. And I don't think it went too long. So yeah, just a few seconds or a few minutes over. But yes.
But if there are any questions afterwards, is also okay. We stay in contact. So
yes, of course. And that course that we're also offering the cellular medicine course as part of our membership on HIPP About Health. So we do deliver that course. That is really good. But I do have another question that popped up, and this is Natasha, which is actually one of our members. She is asking if you recommend the flu vaccine.
Yeah, that's a difficult question.
I know it's Natasha. She would have brought you a difficult
question. I never had one. Is that an answer? I never had one.
The politically correct one.
And my parents, they are both, and my father is 81 and my mother turns 81 next week. And they both don't do it. So
I like that answer.
But I guess they're very healthy. They are very sportive, active, and they don't take medicine, no drugs at all. So they say we don't need that vaccine. But I can imagine that if you are in a critical health situation, that you think about it. So if it could be helpful, but if you realize that it's only 40% less risk for getting this flu, I don't know.
Yes. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Terry. And I look forward to having you again. We do have on HIPP About Health as a member a course on immune health. So as members, you can sign up on our one of our courses that is called Boosting Your Immune System, and you'll learn a lot of that information that Terry shared, but you'd also get the little practical day-by-day, step-by-step information in there. So we cover a whole lot of more areas about the physical and the mental health aspect and in more detail. So remember, Henrietta reminded us to sign up at hippabouthealth.com. Well, thank you, Terry. And now we have, it looks as though, Terry, before you go, there is one more question. If I can grab you back. There is one more question that says, since the flu vaccine is given every year, it means that the viruses are mutating. Hence, the flu vaccine is only for a short period. Hence, the immune protection is short. Then why a vaccine?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because they hope every year they hope they have the last one that is effective for all life or so. I don't know. And in fact, but that's an inside information. I know that in the Netherlands, the doctor who is giving you the vaccination, he gets 10 euros pro vaccination.
Right.
So he is earning a lot of money in giving the vaccination. So in October, so about say 500 or so patients or 1,000 patients in the practice getting the vaccination. That's a good start for winter vacation, or I guess.
All right.
It's an inside information. No, we're making jokes of it, but
I know.
It's a good question. Why should you do it?
Terry, just before you go, there's also one more question in the chat. Unfortunately, that participant didn't put it in the Q&A, but it reads, there are 2 tests for the COVID-19 virus. Can you explain the difference?
I'm aware of the PCR test, that the PCR test is, then they test if they can find a piece of a virus that once was there. So the remains of a virus, and out of that remain one piece of it. So if they find it, they say that should be the coronavirus, because we now have the coronavirus. But that's a big question mark if that's only a proof that's the coronavirus. That could also be another virus or a piece of a virus we already had but not anymore. Or could it be a piece of a flu virus? There are several tests. Now we get also the quick test. At the beginning in March, there was a test you should wait for 3 days, I guess, or so, before you get the results. And now the quick test, you get in an hour the results. So I'm sure they're looking for another part of a virus or so. Or they looked in March, they looked for 3 different parts to be sure. But now they're just looking for one. So that will also do. I don't know.
Thank you, Terry. Over to you, Denise. You're muted.
Denise.
Yeah, sorry. No, there are some more questions in there that are.
Yeah, but you have to go on because otherwise.
I think let's have this one last one, which talks about. This is Jacoba asking, what is the link between bacteria and virus, and how is hand washing effective for a viral protection?
I can just imagine that if hand washing with antibacterial soap it gets rid of your bacteria, the bacteria you want to get rid of, but also the bacteria you don't want to get rid of, because that bacteria protects our skin. That's part of our first defense, our first line of defense. So it's a big question. You get rid of the viruses because of the water, I guess, but the antibacterial substance in the soap won't kill the viruses, so it just kills the bacteria. And you have to put some extra care on your hands to prevent your skin from drying and be an entrance for other bacteria. So I'm not sure if it's very effective. I use normal soap, not antibacterial soap, normal soap. That will do the job better.
Excellent. Thank you, Terry. There's still more questions in there, but what we will do, Terry, if you can have a look in our questions and answers session, the box, you have access to that. If you can then answer some of those questions. So guys, you can keep your questions coming, but we must move on. And I know you're gonna wanna definitely join in this particular session. I'm really excited to introduce Lancelot Gordon and his team. They're going to tell you a bit about their organization, but they're located in my hometown, my home country, Guyana. So we're bringing you Guyana after we brought you Germany, yes, and the US. So Lancelot is going to be talking to us about physical health at home. And with his team there, they're going to be giving us a demonstration. So I'm really, really excited about this. If you got some space around you, make sure that you join in when they get to the demonstration part. So let us, hello guys.
Hey, good afternoon. Who's ready to get hip about their health?
We are.
My name is Lancelot Gordon, and I'm joined by my business partner, Paul Marks, and together we own Chrysalis Fitness Training. So Denise, I want to take this opportunity to thank you and your team for allowing us to share this space on your conference, giving us the exposure. And we are hoping that your audience can interact with us. Any questions that they might have, they can post it in the Q&A. And as you rightly said just now, we'll be showing some live demonstration of physical exercises that you can do right in the comfort of your home. So clear your space. We're set up in our home right now. Sure. We're going to be clearing our table with our nice plant here, so you can do the same to join in. So
yes, I'm not quite sure if we're hearing you quite clearly. Could the mic get a bit closer, or you guys need to speak up a bit? Yeah. All right, we're hearing you, but not as clear as we'd like to.
You're gonna speak up. You're gonna speak up.
Okay, great.
It's in the voice. All right. So, as I was saying just now, I'll just repeat it for those of you who may not have heard me. We are set up as if we are at home, and we're going to be bringing physical fitness to your home. So we want to encourage you guys, regardless of the situation, you can remain physically active from the space, from the comfort of your home. So Cole and I will be doing a live demonstration of some physical exercises that you can do while you're at home. We're going to break it down. So you guys feel free to clear a space in your living room, in your bedroom, wherever it is that you're watching us from, and join in, right? We're going to have some fun with it this morning. So let me just get quickly into telling you a little bit about Chrysalis Fitness Training. As Denise said, we are based in Guyana. For those of you who do not know where Guyana is, we are in South America, the only English-speaking country in South America, as a matter of fact. So we were founded in 2019. We're a fairly young business, but as much as we are only into business 1 year, Paul and I has been in the fitness fraternity for well over a decade, right? Well over a decade, and we've been helping quite a few people achieve their fitness goals, right? And we never really looked for any compensation or remuneration from this. But last year we decided, hey, you know what, maybe it's time that we started something that can give us something we can benefit from. So Chrysalis Fitness Training was founded in October of 2019 by myself and Coel. And the name Chrysalis, that conveys the symbolism of transformation, basically, right? It's from the cocoon phase before a beautiful butterfly emerges, right? So, you know, you got that cocoon and then the butterfly comes out, that beautiful butterfly comes out, right? So that's how the name Chrysalis emerged. And, you know, us having that entrepreneurial drive, and wit, we developed our mission plan, invested, and we acquired the relevant equipment, and we commenced pursuing our dream of impacting the fitness market here in Guyana. We initially ventured out into outdoor fitness training. We did a lot of group trainings in the outdoors because we didn't want to be just like any other fitness service provider. We wanted to cater for those people who do not necessarily like the gym setting. So we wanted to, you know, basically set up outdoor breath of fresh air, target the people who are maybe not that physically active, who are not that mobile, might have some sort of disability, that kind of thing. So that's what we did initially. And then as the clientele grew and everybody has different needs, we transformed and we went into the gyms, we started with personal training, and we grew, right? So the amalgamation of our abilities bring for a personalized and family-oriented approach, you know, to building clientele. Because here at Chrysalis, we believe that our clientele are our family, and that's how we basically, you know, treat it. Our clientele are our family. All right. So we'll move on to what is physical fitness, and I'll give Paul a chance to just, you know, interact. It's an interactive session, so feel free if you have questions, shoot a question to us. We'll get the question, we'll be able to answer it, and we move along. So, what is physical fitness? Paul, you just want to chime in and brief our audience?
Yeah. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Again, thanks again for having us to educate you guys, to entertain you guys today. Like last time, we can make this nice and light and keep the train moving as gracefully as possible. Now, physical fitness is basically just the human body is built for movement, due to different various activities. How our body is built, we are built for movement and activity, right? So physical fitness is basically utilizing our bodies to perform tasks that in a regular day life, in a regimented way, as physical fitness basically outline. Our bodies have energy, so this energy needs to be dispelled in some way. So physical fitness provides the outlet for us to utilize the calories that we consume, and we have the physical output to maximize our intake. So basically, in a nutshell, physical fitness is just basically utilizing the energy we have to burn our calories that we consume, and to basically improve our overall well-being. Basically.
And if I can just add to that, well, what I think it can have different levels, because your physical ability might not be mine, and stuff like that. So if someone is aged and they have older joints and that kind of thing, the mere fact that they can get through their daily activity of getting up, doing some chores in the house, going to the grocery store, that kind of thing, that is physical activity for certain class of people. So it has different, it has different levels.
And that's why I consider eight people that we perform.
Yes, we perform.
All
right. So we want to share with you now some disadvantages of not being physically active, because, you know, to everything there are advantages and disadvantages. So believe it or not, death is at the top of the list, right? Being able to be physically active, it's so refreshing, it's so warming, and not being able to, and knowing the fact that you can depart because you fail to, you know, act on this, you know, it's kind of, you drop the ball, and, you know, coronary heart disease, right? We talk about high blood pressure. That's something that a lot of people face. Every day people die from high blood pressure, stroke. And then we talk about metabolic syndrome, including obesity and abnormal blood cholesterol. You know, these are all things that physical activity, if you don't get a lack of physical activity, you know, you can develop over time. So we want to encourage each and everybody to, even if it's 15, 30 minutes in your day, to incorporate some sort of physical activity so you can eliminate, those chronic illnesses. Type 2 diabetes, that is another big killer when it comes to not being physically active. Believe it or not, breast and colon cancer, right? And depression. Now imagine you being depressed, and physical activity can actually help to ease that depression.
As I always talk about, exercise is a free antidepressant. You don't have to chuck your body full of pharmaceuticals to get that endorphin release in your body. Exercise provides that outlet for you to have a natural antidepressant, right? In reference to the points Lance made earlier, all these symptoms we listed are kind of exacerbated by the current status quo of the world right now with COVID-19. Anybody that wasn't physically active before, they would have been exposed to the likelihood of these occurrences in their lives. And it's kind of exacerbated now because COVID-19 is around, and we do know that pre-existing conditions, the persons who have not necessarily maintained a healthy, fit lifestyle are more susceptible to the effects of COVID-19. So Lance and I, again, when we envisioned doing this, we didn't necessarily see how the impetus of our actions at that moment, but it certainly is panning out because, as Terry mentioned in the previous presentation, your immune system is your first line of defense, or should be touted as the first line of defense. So us having this partnership with us, doing what we do every week, every day, in and out, we're trying to communicate to people that your best tool in the current status of the world, the COVID-19 situation we have, that has lifted all the boats. Basically, this tide came in and everyone's boat was lifted. So exercise, physical fitness, having an idea of how to get to do about doing these things is going to help mitigate a lot of the issues we are coupled with eating and all these kind of things. Really do help mitigate a lot of the negative affects that we listed here. So, we really want to do our part and make sure we position ourselves to facilitate our these people and work really widely because I think it's reaching all over globally. So, if our message is correct and you guys can identify with it, we do encourage you to start something. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate or over the top. You can just start something. Just in your regular day, last time we just discussed it. Things that you can do,
while you're doing your chores.
Right.
We'll get to some of the issues
right.
A little bit later in our presentation. So those are just some of the disadvantages of not being physically active. And as I mentioned earlier, for every disadvantage there are advantages, right? So we'll touch on a couple of advantages of being physically active or living a physically active life or lifestyle. And naturally, it is intuitive to surmise that the benefits of physical activities are to counter the narrative affects listed price. So whatever it is that we listed previously in our previous slide, being physically active can actually counter those, right? So you can prevent, can I say, a premature death?
Yeah.
Right? You can actually prevent a premature death and improve your lifespan. So you can actually add years to your life just by being physically active, believe it or not. And additionally, physical activities provide a sense of accomplishment. It gives you confidence. There's some sort of aurora about you that confidence of exactly. I'm physically active and I'm fit. The way I wish I strive, the way you strive and you struck your stuff, it's kind of different when you're physically active. You get that confidence.
All right, and the way when you pass reflective surfaces, you gotta
you gotta
take time to look.
Exactly. When you're in the street and you're breaking necks because people want to stop and steer because they like what they see. They do not have to use that as motivation to encourage other people to get on that train and become physically active, right? So, and then the other thing I want to mention is that do not treat physical exercise as a punishment to your body, right? Physical exercise is actually
a reward.
It's a reward.
What your body can do,
right? Because there are coaches and trainers that motivate and push you to go forward, go the extra mile. Hey, one more rep, one more set. And then you might say, oh, this is my limit. No, that is not your limit. You can go forward. right? So it's actually an achievement, it's a reward. Hey, I did not know I could do this. You know? So it's actually a reward. Physical fitness is actually a reward. Oftentimes we think that, hey, it's a punishment because our heart rate is all elevated and we're panting for breath and we're sweating in places we did not know we could have sweated. You know?
No muscle alert.
Yes, it's not a punishment. You guys need to treat it as a reward. Right? So we want to get on into the nitty-gritty of our presentation now. Physical fitness at home. And we want to reach out to the listening ear who might have twins, who might have triplets, who might just have a newborn, whether it's 1, 2, or 3. And you cannot find that time to hit a gym. You cannot find that 30, 40 minutes to sit in front of a video that is demonstrating exercises. We want to share some basic stuff that you can do while you're at home, incorporating physical activity into your day-to-day lifestyle. You know, and just before we came on, Paul and I we were just chatting about a couple of things, and I mentioned, hey, you know, what if when you're doing the dishes at your sink, you know, music, let's say music is playing in the background, and you're basically doing some side steps. You know, you're basically doing some side steps. That is movement. That is physical activity. Right. You know? You want to put up some cans. You just came from the supermarket with a bunch of bags, and you want to put some cans into the pantry. What if when you're putting the cans into your pantry, you get up on your tippy toes? You're actually working your calf muscles, right? And there's so many other things that you can do at home, physically active, being physically active and working those muscles, you know, getting your move on or your groove on, and you don't even know that you're burning calories.
Correct, 100%. So yeah, like Lance said, yeah, we just, you know, talking about it, and yeah, there's certain things like when you go to sit down in a chair, you know, you can come down, you can get some isometric movements going, nice and slow, get back down, and different kind of things. There are many different ways you can, in your everyday life, you can do things a little bit more, a little differently, to activate the body differently and burn more calories, right? Obviously, not as high amount as you have high calorie expenditure, but there's certain things you can do in your regular day-to-day life that you can incorporate some tips and techniques for maximizing your ability to get the output from your body, burn more calories. Well, a lot of persons are working from home and they're sedentary all day. You should get up, you know, get up, do a few squats, you know,
walk around the office,
walk around your table, do some leg swings, you know, leg swings, you just get up and swing your leg, do a whole bunch of different things. But you have to have that mindset there that you can do these things are necessary to help combat inactivity. Because a lot of us are kind of stuck at home still, working from home, and you can't go anywhere. So there are various things you can do, and that's not going to show you later on a kind of a regimented program you can follow. And there's a whole bunch of information out there as to what you can do and different techniques you can use at home. But we're going to go show you guys in a few.
So right after this, we're going to get into our live demonstration. We're going to move this beautiful planted table out to the way, and we're going to get down to business. And we want to encourage you guys to join. If you have a space, you're sitting at your desk, you're sitting in your room, in your living room, whether it's in front of the television, just move your table just as we're going to do. Create a space. Even if you don't have a yoga mat, you're going to work on the floor. Put on some comfortable shoes because you need some shoes to protect your feet. And we're going to demonstrate some basic movements that you can do at home. Now that the gyms are closed, now that the parks and all the open spaces might be closed where you are, you can do at home to remain physically active. One of the things that just came to mind while you were going there for is if you have stairs in your house, while you're climbing your stairs, that by itself is something that you can really, you know, use to your advantage. And not just use it to your advantage because Lance and Paul are telling you, hey, be physically active. No, when you're doing it, you want to have that mind to muscle connection. That when it's done, you know that it's done correctly, and you're able to achieve something. You're able to burn some calories. You might not be able to hit it as if you're on the treadmill running for an hour, but you're still right? You're still. So, who's ready for some live demonstration of basic movements we can do right from the comfort of our home?
Before we go into that, so before we go into that, we want to talk a bit about biomechanics, right? Now, the human body, as indicated earlier, is designed for physical movement. All exercise is putting your body in a what's called a biomechanically favorable movement to maximize its performance, right? So the routines that we're going to show you guys are biomechanically designed for the body's optimal movement, right? We'll go through what are called compound movements, and different things that highlight to you how the body is designed to work. How the muscles, the musculature structure, and the skeletal structure all work in conjunction to facilitate your body's optimal movement, right? Anytime you're doing any kind of physical activity or exercise and you experience pain, and that pain is centralized around your joints, then you're doing something incorrect, right? So biomechanics is very, very important. Lance and I have a mantra, the 3 F's that we follow here, right? The 3 F's of fitness, which is function, form, and failure, right? Function is what we decide to do. Form is how we do it, the biomechanics of it. And failure or fatigue is what you must experience in your muscles before you decide, well, before you've actually worked the muscle inside, right? Lance hinted earlier about mind to muscle connection, right? A lot of the times when we exercise, when we do activity, our brain sends impulses to the least amount of muscle fibers for us to perform this activity. So like if I'm gonna shake Lance's hand, right? And I do this and I'm back. My brain sent impulses to the least amount of muscle fibers for me to do that. But if I keep doing this, those initial muscle fibers are going to get tired and your body is going to recruit other muscles for you to perform that action. So that's why it's very important that form is always important, because this needs to be strict. Technique needs to be strict every time you go in. So those initial muscle fibers are going to get exhausted, and then the others are going to start to kick in, and then you can start feeling a little burning and some sensation going on in your body, right? So the form is very important, the function is, and most importantly, you must feel some degree of fatigue or failure in your muscles to let you know that your muscles are actually working. And there's a whole bunch of different things are going on inside your body at the time when you perform it. There's oxygen delivery, there's nutrient delivery to your muscles, and all these different things are going on to help facilitate your movement, right? So we're going to demonstrate it again. Form is very important. So if you're going to have a home regimen, it's important that you try to educate yourself a bit, and we're going to assist you with that, and how to move correctly so you're maximizing your body's optimal performance and you're not creating any stress that's going to cause injury, because we always want to mitigate injury. I don't think we've ever had a client of ours that was injured during our work, because we're very, very, very keen on form and making sure our clients are actually maximizing their performance to achieve their goals. So enough said. We're gonna move on, and we're gonna give you guys an opportunity to see a brief workout regimen that we designed, and it's gonna help you guys with your fitness at home. So if you were listening, we're gonna just move in fair space, and we're gonna go through a routine with you guys. All right? Good. So feel free to clear the table. Right. Feel free to clear the chair, and we are gonna spread our mats. We got a nice fancy mats here. We're gonna put them down. And for this part of our presentation, we would have recruited the services of Malika. Right? Malika is my wife, and she's also a part of our Chrysalis Fitness Training, of course, a paying member. So his family. So again, with physical activity, you want to make sure that you're warming up correctly and warming your body up correctly, right? So because we're gonna do a brief demonstration exercise, we want your body to be warmed up correctly and your blood flowing. Right? So we're gonna do a quick warm up. We're gonna do 3 rounds. You can use it for 3 rounds. We're gonna do jump rope, or we're gonna mind the actual jump rope, or we're gonna do jumping jacks, and then we're gonna do jump rope, steam engines, and good morning. So these exercises are very biomechanically favorable.
bit of space here. So Lance and Elijah, I just ate, so I'm not necessarily going to do it with them. So we're going to do jumping jacks. I'm sorry, jump rope first. The technique is, like in framework. So the technique is, you're going to simulate the movement of a jump rope, right? Your feet placement should be just about shoulder width, and you want to maintain that form. Tuck the elbows, and we go, right? So we're going to start with the timer. We have a timer here. At home, you can also, there's many timers that you can download from your app store, your Play Store. You're going to have this help guide you through the routine. And throughout what we're going to do, Malika is going to offer some modified versions of the exercises because we know everybody's physical fitness levels are basically at different heights, right? So while I'm going to execute, so the elite standard, Malika is going to modify it to what somebody who is not at that standard can cut. And the good thing about interval training is that you can work at your own pace, right? You don't want to have yourself there slapping around and just trying to perform, and then you're not necessarily doing it correctly. You want to maintain your form. You want to make sure that you control your pace, right? So the routine is going to last about 6 minutes, and I hope you guys at home are ready to go with us for this brief 30 minutes. Our interval are 30 seconds, and we have a 10-second delay between that routine, right? So just to go from the top again, we're going to do what are called jump ropes. We're going to simulate jump ropes into steam engines into good mornings, right? So everybody's there, and we're going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2, and we go. Jump rope. Nice technique. There you go. Boom. Ensure those elbows are nicely tucked. And all you're doing is stimulating as if you have a physical jump rope, right? So when you so you're here, you're simulating as if the rope is going over your head. And you go. And it's a rhythm. It's a rhythm. Right? It's a rhythm. We say a rhythm in your big toe. A rhythm. A rhythm. A rhythm. See, Malika's doing a modified version. That's now you're doing the strict version. Right? And you go. The clock is going. It's going. It's only 30 seconds. 30 seconds? Only 30 seconds. And down. Good. So we have 10 seconds, and then we transition into steam engines. And here we go. And go. Steam engine here. Boom. Boom. So what this routine does, it activates the core muscles, it gets the legs involved, and it gets the upper body involved. All right? So again, you work at your own pace, and you can see the intensity. You marry the elbows with the knee, all right? And you bring it up and engage the core. So we got 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax. Remember, this is just your warm-up phase. This is just your warm-up phase. So we get into the next routine, which are good mornings. Good mornings. So we put your hands into the ear. Right? Right? And you go down, and you come up and you squeeze. Down and squeeze. Right? What this does, again, this activates your core, your hamstrings, your glutes, everything is working together, right? And you guys can't see it, but there's some sweat starting to form here. There's some sweat starting to form. Let me know if it works. This is just the first round. And relax, right? So that's our first round complete of our warm-up. We're getting back into our jump rope position. Arms out. And go. There you go. Rhythm. And all we're doing while we're warming up, rhythm, is sending oxygen to all the muscles that we're getting ready to work, correct, right? So again, it's nice and pace and comfortable for you guys to perform, right? See, like the importance of getting your body warm, or one of the importance is that, it prevents injuries, correct, right? You want to mitigate any chances of you hurting yourself. One thing I also encourage you guys to go and relax. What you want to encourage you guys to go to do is to incorporate other family members. If you have goals that you need to achieve, incorporate other family members. And go. So steam engines, look at the form. See what Lance is doing, he's marrying his knees
and elbows at the midsection.
Right?
Right?
Pulling on my neck,
Not
right?
pulling on his neck. Just twisting the body and getting it there. Right?
The core engaged.
This core engaged. Remember, you're working at your own pace. Working at your own pace. All right? And Lance and Malika are a very good example of a fit family. You just see some of the meals they prepare. Meal covered. Are well counted in our fitness group. They love it. So next round, getting into the good mornings. Right? The good morning and go. Good mornings. So we're just about into the second round of the warm-up. Your body should, you feel your heart rate elevated. You feel your pores opening and sweat being released from your body. And you're feeling all kinds of activation in those muscles.
And for this particular exercise, we want to do is keep your feet flat. You don't want to tip over on your toes. You want to remain solid on your heels, right?
Right? And relax. There you go. Yeah. So that's the second round complete. We have one more round, guys. If you're there working with us, you want to stay tight. Right? Your body's nice and loose now. Last round and go. Last round, get that jump rope. Again, you see the form is pretty strict. Where your feet land, you want to consistently land in that area. All right? But like I was doing 45 where she's going like this, which is fine. It's okay. That's okay. But here, right here, get it. All right? So 10 seconds out, keep going. This is the last round of the warm-up. Right? And relax. Good. So everybody at home, if you're doing this, I can say, you guys can't see that, but that's gripping.
Yeah, I'm into this. I'm into this.
So there you go. Go.
I'm into this. Look at me. Look at me. I'm into this. I'm dripping wet. Come on. Come get wet with us. Come get wet with us.
Come on, go. Steam engines, go. Remember, you're engaging the core. Engaging the core. Warming those bodies. Those bodies up. Getting that muscle. Those muscles ready to perform. Right? The first routine that we're going to do is an example of a compound movement, which is squats. Right? And relax. Squats are the most effective, one of the most effective compound exercises that you can do in your fitness regimen. Really good. We're gonna get into it. Good. So good mornings are started. These are good mornings. Again, if you notice, Lancelot and Malika are not pulling on their necks. Lancelot's side is showing the rigidity of the back, right? See, back is not rounded. It's nice. Right. Maintain a nice S curve in your spine, and you're good to go. Good activation. You can see the activation. See the gluteal activation there. So going on and butts. Look at those butts. Right? So it's working and we're getting there. We're getting there. Get that activation going and relax. There is the warm-up section of today's routine. Again, this is pretty easy for you guys to do. And
see that? See that? And that's just the warm-up.
Right.
That's
so,
just the warm-up.
Good. So what we prepared for today's routine, again, I was talking earlier about the compound movement, which is squat. The squat works, it's called a compound movement because there are multiple joints working in conjunction for you to perform a task. So you get flexion of the hips, knees, and ankles to perform the exercise, right? So what we're going to do today, again, you're all into the basic style of training. We're going to do 3 positions of squats. First position, see Lancelot weights. If you have weights, you can incorporate that into your routine. If you're working at home, you have, I know you're at home and have stuff in your pantry, you want to access your pantry, you have something weighted. You have kind of peas. I want something a little bit heavier. We got some vinegar. You want to do some cooking. You want to do some cooking for us. Right? You want to do some cooking. So the 3 positions we're going to do for today's squats, we're going to do wide sumo squat. Again, form is important. So with a squat movement, you might get a little wider, get frame, right? So with a squat, any leg exercise is going to be, you want to create torque by pressing on your heels always. So when you go down, your feet is flat. When you press down, you're pressing down your heels. When you press on your heels, it activates your pelvic bone and contracts all the muscles surrounding the area there for you to get the full activation of your legs. The first section is going to be wide for 20-second interval. You're going to come in to a neutral position, which is your shoulder width. A neutral shoulder width position. And then at the end of that interval, we come in for close. right? So these various positions work. The wide sumo works the inner part of your thighs. The neutral works more of the front part of your thighs. And close works the outer part. So you're gonna get a full, robust activation in your legs, right? So it's not gonna like our position. We're gonna start our timer, and you guys can follow along at home. I think our pace is pretty good, right? We're gonna make it a good pace. Everybody can go. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's why you're trying to side, so you can get a side. We can get a profile view of your movement, so you can see how strict his form is, right? You want to make sure you're going down nice and perpendicular. You're not leaning forward. Your form is really strict. And important to note, when you're coming up, you're not locking the knees out. What you're doing, and relax. What you're doing is that you're squeezing the glutes at the apex of the movement, and that's going to give you some slight bend in the knee and preserving it. And go. So this would be the neutral position squat. Neutral position. So it's important to note again, look at the form, tight. Right? Chest up, body is perpendicular, physically possible, and you're pressing on the heels and pushing up. Get that activation. At the apex, you're squeezing the glutes. Right? And relax. Then we go for a neutral, a close position. The legs are like this. And go. So we're working together. So again, it's important that you create activation from the base all the way up. Right? If you look at Lance's form, it's tight and strict. And right now, he's feeling more activation here. Right? And the calves and everything is working in conjunction. So it's tight. All right? Great. So that's our first round. So the second round starts now, and go. Deep. All right? Deep. Nice strict form. You see the movement is strict. The form is really, really good. Right? That's what we want to maintain. You guys want to maintain a nice strict form so we mitigate any kind of injuries. Because you're at home. You want to make sure you're doing this exercise as comfortably as possible. Great. Complete. Right? We're going neutral now. Face forward. Make sure your feet are aligned. And go. Down and up. Again, see the form. I like this form. It's pretty tight and strict. Lance's form is pretty tight and strict. And they're working. You guys can't see it, but they're dripping wet with sweat. So that's good. Once you get that sweat going, that blood flowing, it's an amazing feeling. The endorphin release after this exercise is going to be amazing. It's going to be wonderful. All right, great. Relax. We're switching now to close. Again, this is a simple cardio workout you can do at home. And go. Down and up. Again, the form is tight. But when you start exercising from a period of inactivity, you're gonna have some moments where you're gonna break down. You're gonna have some moments where you're not gonna perform as well as you'd like. But that's okay. Once you stay consistent at it, you're going to achieve your goal. All right? This is the second round complete. And relax. So we completed round 2 of the set. So we start at the top again, getting back into our sumo position. And go. Nice and deep. Again, you see Lance in the lightest form has not broken once. They've maintained tight, strict form, which maximizes the activation of the muscles and maximizes the output. All right?
Thinking about what I'm doing and getting
right.
my mind to muscle connection.
Building a connection with the activity and you perform. And relax. And I said earlier, it's okay to not get the form correct in the beginning, but as you progress, your body becomes more habitual, it becomes easier for you. And go. This is the neutral position. Down and up. Again, you see the form is very, very strict. I can see the camera actually glistening. You're glistening, bro. So that's sweat. That's how that's glistening. That's sweat, guys. That's sweat. Much earned sweat. Good. So we're working. Good. There you go. Round 2 complete. We're going to the last round, and then we transition. Right? Last round transition. And go. Down and up. Here we go. There's the exercise. Nice and smooth. Right. Beautiful. Look at that form. See the form? The form is tight. The form is extremely tight. So it's really, really good. So they're both maximizing on their output. They're both getting activation they need and achieving their goal. There you go, guys. Never mind. Let's go, girl. Let's go, girl. Right? So, really good. Tell me what you feel, guys. Tell me what you feel. I haven't got it.
After just one round, you guys can
round.
see it on my trousers, right?
Right.
I'm dripping wet. One point I want to make note of is your breathing, because you're going to start, your heart rate is going to go up, and you're going to start breathing, right? So what we want to do is have that under control. So like to the squat position, you want to take a nice deep breath through your nostrils as you go down. So take, as you come up, you let that go through your mouth, right? So that's one way you can control your breathing while you're going through these activities.
Right. Right. So that's first round complete on the legs. We're going to move on, right, to the next round, upper body, right? We need some upper body exercises. And this, you can, like, get your home, you can get a little towel, or if you have weights, you can use weights, right? When we have our towels here, what we're going to be doing, you're going to dry off, right? Good. So what we're doing now are some push-ups, right? We're going to do 3 position push-ups. Now, Malika is going to do the modified version, and Lance is going to do the full version, right? Now with push-ups, the push-up is a good, effective compound upper body movement exercise, right? With a push-up, you're going to feel activation in your biceps, your triceps, your shoulders, your chest, and your back, right? So it's a really, really good exercise. Start targeting upper body. But the position we're going to go, similar to the squat, we're going to go wide, right? Then we're going to go neutral, and then we're going to go diamonds.
Girls' best friend.
Girls' best friend. This is the only place you're going to get some free diamonds while you exercise. Okay? So, again, we're going to start. Again, it's intervals. If you're going to be on the floor for the modified version, we like to turn lateral. Side view of you, right? So, the modified version is you're going to be on your knees. If you're going to be on your knees, like what, like, before your mat, you need to get a good cushion, right? You want to, again, our goal at Chrysalis is to mitigate injury and not cause any unnecessary pain. So if you're going to be doing the modified version, make sure your knees are adequately padded so you don't hurt them while you perform, right? Because if you feel pain there, kind of your brain kind of focuses there, and you kind of, like Lance said, you're unable to build that mind-to-muscle connection because you're feeling pain somewhere else where you ought not be feeling pain, right? So we're going to get into the push-up position again. We have a contract. Wide, then neutral, and then diamonds, close, all right? So we're going to start. Again, this is a good upper body exercise, everybody. Mike is going to get in position. Again, intervals, you work at your own pace. Everybody's in position. In 5, 4, 3, 2, and go. Again, Lance's body is nice and flat, right? His back is not rounded. Look at the form. Good. But it's important to note Lance's position of his elbows. His elbows are not in line with his shoulders. They're tucked and in a 45-degree angle, so when he goes down, he maximizes on his chest. Right? Good. So that's your first round. Close. Now we're going close. Right? Look at like this form too. Neutral, right? So look again. You go down and you come up as perpendicular as possible. You're not going back and forth. Your shoulder should be above your palms. Okay. Good. There you go. There you go. Relax. You see that? Good. Now we're going to the diamonds. Now the diamonds are more concentrated on the tricep. The triceps. You're gonna feel that activation there. Mostly you're gonna feel that activation there, right there. Right here, you're gonna feel that burning going on. Your chest is also activated, but you're gonna feel a lot of the stress of the exercise here, focused here. So that's good. So you get a nice robust interaction with this upper body. Good. Relax. Good. Woo. Good. So let's start. We press the time, so we gotta push through, and that will be your example of your upper body exercise. So we're gonna go straight into a demonstration of core exercise. The core is pretty important. You're a bit of trivia. Your core, your abs, the only group of muscles you have that are not wrapped around the bone. So every time you're moving, every time you're active, your core or your abdominals are activated to help to facilitate your movement. There's a thing called abdominal compression that happens when you force your abdominals tight, and it appropriates your energy throughout your body, right? So what we're going to be doing is do a few core exercises that are targeting various areas of the core, the lower abdomen, upper abdomen, and the entire middle section here. So the first exercise we're going to do is what is called a reverse crunch. Reverse crunch, and this is going to activate the hip flexors and the lower abdomen, right? And it's very, very useful for targeting the abs, right? So here we go. You guys can see at home. We're going to start our timer. You look at the form, make sure the form is tight. Reverse crunches. So we want to create like an arc, right? You can put your hands under your butt for leverage or the side. There we go. These are reverse crunches. There you go. See that form? It's nice and tight. Get that butt off the mat. There you go. There you go. Work it. You feel that activation in your lower abdomen, this area here, right here. Work that here. And relax. Good. So now we're going to go into toe touches, right? So legs are up, and you reach for those toes. This is going to work the upper abdomen a bit more. You're going to feel that contraction there. Again, as Lance indicated earlier, you want to control your breathing. You want to make sure your breathing is optimal, all right? In and out. There you go. In and out. Work those bodies. Let's go. There you go. There you go. Beautiful. The last is a plank. So you're going to turn over. The plank is one of the most effective abdominal exercises there are. So plank. Like is going to do a modification to the plank, which is a 6-inch raise, activates the core similarly. So you're going to lift your legs and hold it up 6 inches. That is the modified version to a plank, right? So to activate the core similarly, you got to hold it up. When you look at Lance, it's like a board. And relax, right? So that is a demonstration of a core exercise. You can repeat that for 3 rounds. And if you can, Lance, can you demonstrate one that let's convey a point to the viewers on the plank, right? Lance coined this joke that when we're doing planks, you want export quality planks. Are you planking good? You can send it back to the song, right? So if you look at this form, right? It's like a board, right? Tight, nice and flat. Look at that. There's a line, right? Also to note with planks, when you're doing planks, you want to make sure that your shoulder is in line with your elbows to create a nice right angle position so you're well supported, nice structure. Put some weight on here, right? Right? See that? Good. So again, it's very important that form is important. See, Lance hasn't moved yet. Like, yeah, strong. Right? So that's key. That's always key, right? So to wrap things up, so we can talk to you off below, right? Right? We want to do some stretching. What's also important is stretching after your workout. So we're gonna get some stretches going. There's a few stretches you can do to shut down those muscles that you activated while working. It's very important to shut the muscles down. So we're gonna take at least about 2 minutes more, and we're gonna show you guys some stretches. So you can do it one by yourself. You can get it down a bit. All right. So we worked our hamstrings and glutes. So you want to bring that one leg in and clasp your hands at the back of your leg and pull it. Pull it to its maximum stretch, and then you raise it as far as physically possible. You're going to feel pulling in this area here. You're going to shut those muscles down. Now, this is called a static stretch, where you hold the position, right? The dynamic will be moving all over. This is static. So you got to hold the position to shut those muscles down. Then you go back down. You repeat the same with the other leg. You pull it to its maximum stretch, and then you extend the leg out. And you're going to feel an activation in the glutes and hamstrings, and it's going to desensitize these muscles and shut them down. Right? Stretch it out. So another exercise So you work the quads also. You want to turn over, and we want to shut the quads down. So you reach back one side, grab, and extend the other arm out. All right? Pull and hold. You're going to feel that stretch happening in your quad area here, right? You feel all the way up into your hip joint, right? And relax, and then we alternate. A good rule of thumb is about 5 to 10 seconds hold to really shut those muscles down, because they're activating. You want to relax them so your body can start healing, all right? And relax. And we're going to grab them together, and pull. Tilt the head back, body nice. Fall the hip, let the hips fall into the mat, and relax. Right? That's it. That's it for your lower body. If you want to sit up, you want to stretch those upper body muscles. So what we're going to do now is we're going to place one hand on your opposing hip. You want to push over. Again, 5 seconds or 5 to 10 seconds. And repeat the other side. Push over. Again, you want to breathe in, nice, slow, deliberate breaths. Put the hands on the hip, and you force one elbow forward and one elbow back, and you'll feel like a diagonal slash across your back. Stretch and hold, and then repeat the same, the other side. Stretch those muscles. Good. You want to stretch the arm across the body. Stretch the chest out. Stretch, hold, stretch, hold. Place the arm, you want to stretch those arms out. Touch shoulder blade. You want to pull in the elbow and get that stretch going. And then you want to repeat the same on the other side. Touch. We like to say, look into your armpit and smell it. Look into your armpit and smell that freshness. And there you go. The body is stretched, and you've had a home workout using whatever space you have at home and whatever equipment you have at home. So Lance, tell them how you experience it. Wow. If you're there at home sitting and you haven't gotten up off of the sofa, off of your bed, wherever it is that you're watching us from, and try this, I implore that you take mental notes of what we just did for just about 20 minutes and do it, incorporate it into your daily activity. Look at me. I'm dripping wet, and it's raining outside, so the place is school. I'm dripping wet from just 20 minutes, and we've had a full body workout. My chest is on fire, my arms are on fire, my legs, Look at them most guns. of all. Look at them guns. Show them guns, man. Show them My guns. legs most of all. My legs most of all are on fire. Muscle there, man. Right? So I implore you guys, if you're there, you did not get a chance to join in for whatever reason. The baby's asleep, you don't want to wake him up. I implore you, you made the mental notes. You had handwritten notes. Come, do it. Get some information. Read up what it is that you have to do. Look at some video demonstrations. Reach out to Denise, who can reach out to Chrysalis Fitness Training, and we can assist you getting physically fit at home, whether it's during COVID or after COVID. All right, so any questions? If there are any questions that you guys want to shoot to us, feel free to drop it in the Q&A. Denise will get it to us and we can answer you as the session goes on. We're pressed for time. We went over by a couple of minutes, but we hope that we would have shared some good information, did some good demonstration, and help you guys get mobile while at home. Thank you. All right. Good stuff.
Yes. Thank you guys very much. I must admit, I did not join in. I'm one of those guilty people, but I'm thinking I am not going to be able to compose myself and come back here. But the great news is, if you have any questions, remember you got a question and answer section tab at the bottom of your Zoom, and Lance and team will address those questions while we're going on to the next session. We do have Chrysalis with us we're hosting another event on the 5th of December. There's going to be totally fitness at home. So they're going to get your full attention. So you got to make sure you come fully prepared. And we're going to send out some more details on that after this. So you'll get it by email. So Yes, but thank you guys ever so much. That was definitely informative and very interactive. I actually, though I was sitting just looking on, I was enjoying you guys. You're charismatic, and I just loved it. Thank you very much for doing this session with us. And we
Thank
do
you,
look
Denise, for
forward to
giving
the
us the
next event.
opportunity. We do appreciate it.
Of course, and it's from my hometown. So, GT. Anyway, thank you guys again for doing this. Okay, we now need to move on to our next session, but we're going to take a bit of a break. We're running late, as you can see. We did have a video we wanted to show you on depression and nutrition, but we're not going to do that at this point. We're going to go on. We're going to take a 3 minutes break because I know some of you got to go and wash your face, get some water, because you make sure that you're hydrated, especially after a session that you just had. So just 3 minutes, and as we prepare for the next session to come on. So here is actually a video I'm going to share with you guys while you go do what you're doing. I'm just reminded, we did not actually take the opportunity to get you guys to rate the poll, rate the sessions that you've had. So we have some polls that will come up on your screen while you are there preparing, and when you come back, and just if they're very quick 2 or 3 questions, if you could just take the polls as we move on to the next session. So yes, go get hydrated and come back. Hi, I'm Denise Paris, co-founder of HIPP About Health. And a lot of people ask us, what does HIPP About Health mean? Now, HIPP means that you're hopeful, that you're informed, that you're prayerful, and you're proactive about your health. Are you hip about your health?
I'm Joy, and I'm hip about my health.
Hi everyone, I'm Marissa Prophet, and I'm hip about my health.
I am Gail, and I'm hip about my health.
Hi, I'm Melissa, and I'm hip about my health.
My name is Tony Stewart, and I'm hip about my health.
I'm Stacy, and I'm hip about my health.
I'm Khadija, and I'm hip about my health.
I am Sandra, and I'm hip about my health.
Hi, I'm Chandel Gums, and I'm hip about my health.
Hi, I'm Alison Chester, and I'm hip about my health.
Hi, I'm Marsha Rose, and I'm hip about my health.
My name is Dwayne Paris, and I'm hip about my health.
My name is Desiree Edgel, and I'm hip about my health.
I am Natasha, and I am hip about my health.
I am Charlene Prince, and I am hip about my health.
My name is Carlisle, and I'm hip about my health.
Yes, I'm hip about my health too, and you can become hip about health. Why not join us on the 7th of November, which is this Saturday, where we have a conference, and we'll be talking all about becoming hip about health. Remember, you too can be hopeful, informed, prayerful, and proactive about your health. Go to www.hipabouthealth.com. Yes, guys, I hope you saw the poll and was able to respond. We did get in loads of your responses, and that is absolutely great. Now I have our next speaker that is coming on, and this is Paul Taylor. Paul, I'm waiting to get your video and your...
Hi Denise, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Hello, yes I can. Hold on
Excellent.
1 second, let me get used. There you are!
Hey, hi Denise, hello everybody.
Hello, Paul. Paul is a very, very close colleague of ours. We've had him on several of our events. We enjoy having Paul, and Paul is going to be talking a bit, giving us some insight into the health industry and the politics around it, and he's going to explain his topic a little bit more. I know I've had some people ask, what exactly is he going to be talking about? Well, Paul is going to tell you some more about that, but he is going to keep your attention, and you're going to be doing a lot of, ooh, oh, didn't know that, when Paul is speaking. So let me hand you over to Paul. Paul Taylor is the executive director of the Dr. Rath Health Foundation, and they are partners of HIPP About Health. We have been trying to work as close as possible with them. As we mentioned before, most of our information that we provide to you is influenced or informed by the Dr. Rath Health Foundation. So over to you, Paul.
Okay, Denise, I'll see if I can get up my screen here. Click on share. Screen, that one. Okay, I hope you can all see that.
Yes.
Great. Okay. So yeah, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about the politics of health, as the title there suggests. So I've worked, just for those who maybe people who don't know me, I've worked with the Dr. Rath Foundation for 17 years now, and certainly in the early days. So I joined the organisation in 2003. And a very frequent question that I used to get from people when they found out what I do, people used to say, well, what on earth has politics got to do with health? Or to turn it around, what has health got to do with politics? Well, quite a lot, actually. I'm going to be talking a bit about that today. But, you know, one of the things that's happened just recently is that really I've noticed that I very rarely get that question now, compared to, say, 17 years ago, because I think pretty much now most people realize that the coronavirus crisis is enormously linked to the topic of politics. The way our lives have changed in the last 6 or 7 months is all about politics. Politics is now affecting all of our lives very, very much in ways that clearly affect not just our health itself, but our entire lives. One of the obvious ways, if I start at the beginning with this, is that our human rights are being affected by this response to the virus very, very much. So there's the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was drawn up in 1948. So these are the post-war years, and these were the United Nations' attempt to try to define exactly what are our human rights and what do they consist of, what should they be. And the rule of law, really not just in the UK here, where I am today, but really across much of the world now, are resulting in our rights to freedom of movement, clearly, and a lockdown being affected. Freedom of opinion as well, I'll get to that one in just a moment. Freedom of peaceful assembly and association, of course, other lockdown issues, and our rights to work and education. Many people are enormously affected financially by the loss of their right to work, and of course, in the first lockdown in March and April, of course, the right to education. So this lady is the CEO of YouTube. And she recently stated that any videos advising people to take vitamin C, or which go against World Health Organization coronavirus recommendations, will now be removed from her company's platform, on the YouTube channel. And there's been large numbers of natural health related videos to do with vitamins and related topics, which are being removed from YouTube now. This is an ongoing, growing problem. But of course, other social media firms, Facebook and Twitter, have also been very active in removing posts or placing warning signs on posts. And this clearly, you know, if you look at the work that our organization does, which I'll explain a little bit more as we get into this, there's an enormous amount of science showing that vitamins vitamin C, vitamin D, and other micronutrients are enormously beneficial and indeed essential for proper immunity. So restricting our rights to share this information clearly contravenes our right to freedom of opinion. But, you know, if you think about it, it shows that the work that organizations like ours have been doing over the last 20 years, our progress in natural health research is actually a threat to the status quo, to the drug industry, to the orthodox way of looking at and treating these problems. So we have a research institute in California. We employ about a dozen scientists and doctors, and one of their recent studies has shown that a specific combination of micronutrients can block the interaction between the binding site of the coronavirus spike. We've all seen these graphics on our TV screens and on the internet. Between the spike and the specific cellular entry door the virus uses to get into human cells. And this is something known as the angiotensin converting enzyme 2, or ACE2 receptor. And this is a very important discovery that our researchers made, because the interaction targeted in this study is the first step in the infection process with the virus. And get this, it's exactly the same biological mechanism that's being targeted by vaccines. The vaccines we keep hearing about that are being under development worldwide. So we know there are natural approaches to blocking viral infection, and in particular between this virus and micronutrients. Micronutrients are very effective in blocking infection with this virus. So this really then brings in the question, so what isn't the World Health Organization telling us about this? Why it isn't telling us about these things? Because it's actually a scientific fact, you see, that all viruses so far investigated can be blocked using specific micronutrients. And in fact, this information about the role of vitamins and immunity is already part of every textbook of biology. It's not like this is magic or special information that's just coming to light now. It's being further developed now, but it's not new. You know, there have been Nobel Prizes won for vitamins, about 9 of them, if I remember correctly. And Dr. Rath's research, the founder of our organization, has shown that a specific combination of micronutrients can support and enhance the immune system against all viruses. And these include vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin E, the nutrients shown on the screen there. And you will, if you look at the World Health Organization website, you can search it from top to bottom. You will not find this information printed anywhere on that website. And our research team has published studies proving this. You can find these studies, among other places, on the United States National Library of Medicine, PubMed website, the world's premier and largest medical research website. This is interesting. So we're told that the virus has a very, very high fertility rate compared to influenza. And certainly, you know, I'll start by saying this now. And what I'm going to say next, I'm not trying to pretend or tell you the virus isn't dangerous. As Dr. Rath has written on our website, the virus certainly is dangerous, but only to people with compromised immunity. That's very important. So this gentleman here is Michael Ryan, and he's the head of emergencies at the WHO. And in the WHO press conference, he recently admitted that the WHO's best estimates, and those are the words he used, now suggest that around 1 in 10 people worldwide may have been infected with the coronavirus since the pandemic started last December. Unfortunately, Michael Ryan didn't actually explain the implications of this, you see, because if you do the maths, or as the Americans would say, do the math, with the world population standing at 7.8 billion at the moment, this means that the number of people infected is approximately 780 million. Now, on the basis that the global death toll is around 1.1 million, this therefore means, with a 10% of the population infected, that the virus has a fertility rate of around 0.14%. Now, the rate of infection, the fertility rate for flu is around 0.1% or just under that. So based on that statistic, the 1 in 10 worldwide people infected with it, the virus has a fertility rate of around 0.14%. Now, this is interesting because the WHO originally told us back in March, April, that its estimate of fertility with this virus is 3.4% of those infected. So this figure now, clearly, it's much more comparable to seasonal influenza than it was originally thought. It's not to say the virus isn't dangerous, but if you have good immunity, if you have high levels of the correct micronutrients, it's not that you won't be infected, but you'll almost certainly be okay. So why is the WHO misleading us? Well, we have to ask this question. Well, if you look at the evidence, the WHO primarily serves the interests of the drug industry. If you look at the papers coming out of the World Health Assembly each year, the WHO's governing body, the drug and chemical industries and their investors now figure prominently in the lists of WHO donors, giving it collectively millions of dollars every year. And in fact, in recent years, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has been the second largest donor to the WHO. The only single donor providing larger funding was the government of the United States. So the WHO is closely affiliated with corporate interests. And that's why, clearly, the WHO doesn't want us to know about natural approaches, non-patentable natural approaches to health. Drugs, of course, are patentable, and these patents are the key to creating multi-billion-dollar markets of health. So the World Economic Forum a few years ago calculated that by 2030, the cumulative global economic impact of just the 5, not all of them, the 5 leading chronic diseases, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, mental illness, and respiratory disease, could reach a staggering $47 trillion. If you add up all of the earnings in all of the countries in the world, like a global GDP, if you like, it comes to around $80 trillion. So the only conclusion is that the pharma industry's control of health, or rather the pharma approach to health, is a threat to the global economy. The point being, we can't afford to continue like this. We have to about turn and find alternative approaches. The pharma, if you think about it, the pharma approach to health is why we are where we are. It's why we are locked in our homes as we're watching this presentation this evening. And in fact, a recent study warns that single-use PPE, personal protective equipment as it's called, is resulting in widespread contamination of the environment. In fact, it's now known that every month, 129 billion plastic face masks and 65 billion plastic gloves are being used worldwide in response to the pandemic. I mean, just take the face mask, 129 billion a month times 12 months, that's about 1.5 trillion plastic face masks being disposed of annually now. I mean, this is just, I don't know about you, but to me, this is insane. This is actually a photograph I took. I'm sure we've all had this experience. We walk around our towns and streets, and we see these things just dropped all over the place. It's becoming normal now. So I take a few photographs and I tweet a few photographs. But when I see these things lying around, to me, it's a reminder that the pharmaceutical approach to medicine is failing to control the pandemic. I mean, to me, at least, there's no other conclusion. I don't want to talk about too much about this next aspect, but given that one of the people who said this in the last few months is a Nobel Prize winner, I think we have to at least consider this aspect. So this gentleman is Professor Luc Montagnier. He's a French scientist, and he shared the Nobel Prize for the discovery of HIV. And he stated outright about 6 months ago on French television that the virus was created in a lab. He said it had been designed based on its molecular structure by biologists. And the interesting thing was, he stated outright that it contains genetic elements of HIV, and he insisted that this could not have happened naturally by itself. Of course, he was widely criticized. Of course, this was labeled conspiracy theory, but he is, and he remains, a Nobel Prize winner, a very eminent scientist. And since then, teams of scientists from Australia, India, and China have made similar comments, similar assertions. I think it would be wise to keep an open mind, but certainly it couldn't be argued that Professor Montagnier doesn't understand the genetic structure of HIV and that he wouldn't recognize it when he saw it. I mean, he discovered the thing. So it's an interesting question. It's an unresolved question, but there are growing numbers of scientists who are also now reaching this conclusion. The importance of high-dose vitamin C. So vitamin C is known to decrease or completely block the replication of all viruses it's applied to. I mean, this should be by now, given what that first sentence, this should be common knowledge now, but it's not. Many people are still surprised when they hear this. And get this, so even in cells that have been chronically infected with HIV, vitamin C has been shown to reduce viral replication by more than 99%. Get that, just think about that. Doctors in China, the US, and other countries have now reported the successful treatment of coronavirus patients with high-dose vitamin C. And the Shanghai Medical Association now officially recommends high-dose vitamin C for even light infection with the virus. So vitamin C is clearly very important. The problem is that vitamin C deficiency is now common worldwide. A recent review of the evidence published in the science journal Nutrients examined global research on vitamin C status and the prevalence of low and deficient levels among populations. And we often are told that vitamin C deficiency is rare, but these researchers found that it's actually common in low and middle income countries, but not at all uncommon in high income ones, such as the UK. Clearly, you know, many of us are not getting enough vitamin C, and we need to consume more of it, either through our diet or through supplements. But there's a bigger problem, of course, because the virus, the pandemic, is a global issue. And for more than 800 people worldwide, they suffer not just from micronutrient deficiencies, meaning a lack of vitamins and minerals. They're also short of essential macronutrients, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates as well. Many such people survive on as little as one meal a day. And this has obviously numerous negative health effects. And in the case of school children, I'm going to talk a little bit about shortly one of the countries in Africa we're working at the moment. But in the case of children, of course, it affects their concentration and their ability to learn. And in fact, just a few days ago, there was a news story comparing the height that the average adult reaches in industrialized countries and developing countries. And of course, you know, in many African countries, the average adult height is much smaller, 6 inches or more smaller than the average adult in Europe or North America. I mean, there's no way, of course, the point being, there's no way that this isn't a political issue. Because you see, eradicating world hunger is much, much more affordable than you might think. A recent report, and eradicating world hunger completely by then would cost just $330 billion. To put this figure into perspective, and to go back to what I was saying before about global income, gross world product, if you consider the combined gross national income of all the countries in the world, as I said before, it's about $80 trillion. So the $330 billion it would cost to end world hunger is less than half of 1% of that amount. Less than half of 1% of the gross national income of all the countries in the world. Another way of looking at it, look at global military expenditure around the world. It now totals almost $2 trillion a year. And that's an amount that's about 6 times what it would cost to end global hunger. So clearly, you know, had the richest countries in the world really wanted to end global hunger, they could have done it a long time ago. It could be done now very easily. The money's there. But what clearly isn't there is the political will. And we have to ask ourselves why that is. You know, this is clearly, if once you think it through, you realize that eradicating world hunger isn't simply just a health issue, it's a clear political issue as well. So a global crisis clearly requires global solution. There's no way of looking at this problem now other than looking at achieving global solutions, not just to this virus, but to health problems generally. Because we are, whichever way you look at it, we're a planet in trouble, you know, and see there the motto of our organization, health, peace, and social justice. We, Dr. Rath, myself, and Terry, who you saw earlier, we look at it from that perspective not just solving the health problem, but doing it in a way that brings peace, not war to the world, and achieves social justice. So what are we doing? What's our organization doing to tackle these challenges? So I talked before about the research that our researchers conduct in San Jose, California. We have world-class scientists there. And the work they conduct is building on Dr. Rath's discoveries in the fields of cardiovascular disease, cancer, and of course, infectious diseases and other areas of medicine. And they've now had more than 100 peer-reviewed studies published on the US National Library of Medicine's PubMed website. As I mentioned earlier, this is the premier medical library of the world. And getting stuff published on there isn't easy, believe you me. But a key part of our mission, I mean, the reason that Terry and myself are here today is that a key part of our mission involves teaching people how to improve their health using nutritional and what we call cellular medicine approaches. Some of you I know are members of the Dr. Rath Health Alliance, and you will already know that providing health education is central to our work. We don't think that health education should be secret. We think it should be shared freely and available to all. Free access to natural health, we think, should become a human right. The human rights that I talked about earlier, the United Nations Universal Declaration from 1948, this should become one of those rights. We have a petition. If you go to that website, you can sign it. If you haven't done that already, I would urge it. It's something very, very recommendable for you to do. If you want to write down the web address there, you can find it on that site. Otherwise, if you go to Denise, she will give you the link, and you can go to it and sign it easily from there. But so I said earlier that this is a global issue, and we work not just in Europe or North America. We also work in Southeast Asia, and also what I'll talk about next, our work in Africa. Because we now have more than 50 schools in Uganda that are taking part in our international, what we call our Movement of Life project. And I'd just like to say a little bit about that, really. So this is something in 2014, our Movement of Life project already existed by then. But in 2014, we extended the work to Uganda. And we began work in poor areas of Uganda, in the south of the country, just below the equator there. And the goal of the project is to teach young children about the health promoting properties of the fruits and vegetables they can grow in their own gardens, both in the school garden. We encourage them, I'll say more about this in a minute. We encourage them to grow their own gardens at their homes and at schools. You see, because if you look at it, the things I'm going to show to you next are not things that are magic or difficult to do. The World Health Organization and the United Nations and its organizations could easily do this. They have far more money than we are to do this sort of stuff. What we have to ask ourselves is why they're not doing it. You see, because the way aid works at the moment, the big global institutions and international aid charities, essentially poor developing countries become dependent on aid. I mean, this is clearly neither sustainable nor desirable. So our approach is to teach the children and teach the communities how to help themselves. You might, one or two of you may be wondering, I don't know, where is Uganda? Well, it's a sub-Saharan country just below the equator, there in Africa. I went there last year, and I can tell you, not just in fact, but certainly what I saw, it is genuinely one of the poorest countries in the world. So what we're doing down there involves four main aspects. It involves setting up what we call school health. It involves teaching children about nutrition and cellular medicine in the school classroom. It involves setting up fruit and vegetable gardens in the schools, and then reaching out from the schools into the local communities and encouraging the parents and their neighbours to set up their own gardens as well. So every school of the 50 or so schools in Uganda that takes part in our Movement of Life project is required to set up a school health parliament. The school health parliament is pretty central to the whole idea, really, because it discusses health issues concerning the school and the communities around it. All the decisions that are taken in relation to the workings of the project at the school are not taken by the teachers. They're taken by the children themselves. And I witnessed some really incredible meetings of school health parliaments when I went to Uganda last year. And what it taught me was that if you give children responsibility, if you explain to them what you're trying to do, they are incredibly passionate. Once they understand the benefits, once they understand what can be achieved, it's quite incredible to watch what young people are capable of. Inspiring, it really is. So all the planning and the running and completion of the project is down to the kids themselves. And the spreading of health information around the school is generated by the children themselves, and they go home and go back into the communities. What we're doing here, I mean, if we want the work at our organisation, and indeed, if I dare say, the HIPP About Health team to continue, we have to ensure that what we are teaching people includes teaching the young people as well. I mean, to us, our work in Uganda is also about training the health educators of tomorrow. And as I saw, what happens is the children are not just learning about health, they're not just learning about gardening and nutrition, but they're learning important life skills as well, about teamwork, communication, professionalism, the things there I describe on the screen. And these children, if you think about 50 schools and how many kids are involved, my hope, indeed if I may say, my expectation, is that some of these children may go on into politics and to become educators themselves. Changing the world in many ways starts at school, and in Uganda we are a good way along the road towards, I think, achieving this. So the children learn. I mean, there's so many exciting, inspiring things I saw. In fact, all the photographs in my presentation, in this part of the presentation, were all taken live, locally on the project. And this gentleman there is a teacher in one of the schools, and he's giving a lesson about nutrition and cellular medicine to the children. And so they use our books, our materials in these classes, and they learn that micronutrient deficiencies, a lack of vitamins and minerals and other micronutrients, are the primary cause of chronic diseases. Meaning the primary reason people get cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cancer and things, is a lack, an insufficient supply of essential micronutrients. So the children learn how fruits and vegetables, particularly when grown organically, which is what we encourage, of course, are good sources of these vitamins and minerals. And they'll learn how they can prevent diseases by improving their intake of nutrients. So setting up a fruit and vegetable garden at the school is a vital part of this. A lot of these kids are coming to schools originally and they were not being properly fed. That has all changed now. And these gardens in the schools become, as we say, real life laboratories where the children turn the theory of nutrition and cellular medicine into practice by growing the fruits and vegetables that they're learning about. It doesn't cost much to do this. The World Health Organization and the United Nations could easily afford to do this if they wanted to do it. When Dr. Rath asked me to work out sometime last year what it was costing us to fund one school and provide a basic set of gardening materials like in the photograph there, I worked out it was costing £100 per school. I mean, that's not a lot. You know, it's not a lot. And, you know, we often now get people who, upon realizing this, donate to us to achieve this, you know. But the main point is that if we can afford this, and we're not a large, global, powerful organization, you know, we have big dreams. In fact, I always say our dreams are far larger than our resources, but you have to dream big. If you want to achieve something big, you've got to dream big. It's not going to happen by accident. But if we can do this, you know, we have to ask why the United Nations, the WHO and people aren't doing this. It's clearly not by accident. Reaching out to local communities is absolutely vital, and this is the part, in fact, of these four things I've been talking about. It's the part we're focusing on most now. If you can imagine how the pandemic, the lockdowns have hit poor African countries, it's a serious, serious problem. So we are now intensifying our efforts to teach people in communities how to grow fruit trees and vegetables and improve their nutrition. This campaign is really central to it. I mean, the campaign title hopefully should convey the message: end heart disease, plant a fruit tree. Because you see, heart disease, as Dr. Rath's research has shown, is primarily caused by an insufficient intake of vitamin C. I'm sure Terry must have talked a lot about this. I'm not going to try and repeat or guess what Terry said, but I'm sure she'll have mentioned this. But you see, fruits obviously are good sources of vitamin C, and this means that the widespread planting of fruit trees and eating fruit can help save lives. And of course, heart diseases are now the #1 cause of death globally. So in Uganda, we've now successfully planted more than 12,000 fruit trees. I mean, I feel, you know, we've got a long way to go, but and there's been really an enormous amount of work involved to get us to this point. And when I recently asked our coordinator down there, a young man by the name of Giovira, I asked him to work out just roughly how many people, adults and young people, are now benefiting from our work there. He eventually came back with a number of more than 100,000. Well, you know, it's a start. We dream big. Our dreams are far bigger than that. We're starting now also in Malawi and Ghana as well. But we've reached this stage and we're looking further forward. But to us, it's not even about us donating money to initiate these projects. Because as I said earlier, the big international aid agencies have designed the aid movement, if you like, the aid model, the charity model, to such an extent that these countries become dependent upon aid. We don't see it that way. Our goal is to make this project and these sort of projects we run in African countries self-sustaining. It's the only way they can work. If they were dependent upon us supplying continuous amounts of money, it's never going to work. And in some of the schools already, they've been so successful in growing good quantities of fruits and vegetables. They're now making an income through selling their surplus produce. And this can buy, of course, books and materials for the school, as well as feed the kids and the teachers as well. So making the project self-sustaining is the goal. It has to be the goal. But obviously, it goes without saying almost that there's been many health benefits from the project. One of the aspects is that we're trying to encourage the kids to drink more water. And obviously, down there, drought is a major problem. Many of the schools at times have lost almost their entire crops. And when I attended meetings of some of the various school health parliaments, countering drought was one of the most common topics I heard brought up. But drinking water and improving their intake of nutrients has enabled many of them to reduce their budgets in the schools for painkillers. So, improving their health, we've also noticed a reduced incidence of malaria, because of course malaria is endemic down there. So, the health benefits are clear. Teachers at some of the schools report seeing an improvement in the kids' academic performance as well, because obviously when they're better fed and nourished, they're more able to work and reach their true potential. Because the brain, of course, is an organ, same as the heart and the lungs and the liver, and it needs nutrients, just the same as all of our other organs do as well. So to conclude, improving health and saving lives, the work that our organisation does, the work that Terry's doing, the work that Dr. Rath does, requires us all to work together to achieve it. We can't achieve these things working by ourselves. That's why Denise has formed HIPP for Health. It's why Terry and I came here today to talk to you all. If we can work together, if we can dream big together, I'm sure we can achieve a lot together as well. Now, while I've been talking, I see there's been quite a few questions popping up. Maybe Denise might want to advise me. Denise, have we got time to answer a few questions here?
Yes, I think we should take a couple of minutes to address some. Well, I'll pick one of them in particular, and if you can answer them while we move on to the next session.
The one at the bottom, the last one by Faith.
Yeah. There's one by Faith Robinson that says, why does the cost of plant-based or herbal medicine, why are they so expensive? If you want to grab hold of that one.
Well, they might be expensive, but they're a lot less expensive than buying drugs.
Yeah.
And you see, the other thing is, if you look at the best, without mentioning specific products or companies, if you look at the best products, they are built on research. The best, the most reputable companies in that field carry out research first. The products are based upon research and studies.
This is a question you asked.
And that costs money.
Yes. And well, they also ask, there are a lot of genetic engineering of the food that we eat. I can appreciate the need for growing your own food. However, how could one be sure that the seeds that we are using are not genetically engineered?
Well, in truth, of course, we can't be sure of that. There's regulations in the UK are pretty tight on that. But in truth, can we be certain that not even 1% of what we eat is GM? Very difficult. I mean, buy from local farms. Near where I live here, there's a local farm, an organic farm a few miles from where I live. So we know the farmer, we trust him, we buy from him. I think the best advice I can give there, just be careful who you buy from. That applies to everything, really.
Yes, for sure. Well, thank you so much, Paul. And I think that there are a couple more in there. And if you can respond to them. while we move on to our next session. But Paul, thank you. The information you always share with us is always challenging and cause us to think. And as we mentioned before, the information that we provide our members is informed by our partnership with the Dr. Rath Health Foundation, and we look forward to doing so much more work. I know there are some gynaes on here there, and we have the representative of the Dr. Rath in Nigeria. She's on here, but the gynaes, we have been, as HIPP About Health, have been looking into moving that same plant to fruit tree initiative into Ghana. So gynaes, people who are on here, just make sure that you stay in contact with us, and we'll keep you updated as to when we can start that initiative there. So yes, but thank you very much, Paul. I know for sure that all of you would have learned a lot from Paul's presentation. And remember, if you have questions, you can continue to ask your questions at the bottom in the Q&A section. Hopefully we'll get Paul to stay here for a few minutes more and answer some of them. Our next speaker basically helps sum up the very basis of HIPP About Health and what what our foundation or what our movement is based on, and that is our very own, who is part of our strategy team. That is, I'm looking for his video at the moment. I'm not seeing him. Right, could we spotlight Pastor Kevin?
God bless you. How
There
you doing?
You are. Yeah,
I'm here.
Yes. Pastor Kevin Dawkins has been, he has been a supporter of our HIPP Foundation. He's now on our strategy team, and he's going to be talking, giving us the bit about what God says about our health, and I'll let him explain more. But right over to you, Kevin. Thank you very much for joining us.
God bless you, and God bless you all. And it has been another fantastic HIPP About Health conference. Terry, amazing. It's just been amazing. So everything that's been done, I resisted doing the exercises because I didn't want to work up a sweat. So but I did go for the gyms are closed, as many of you will know, in the UK. So I did go for a power walk this morning, and the outside gyms were quite packed up. So I had my power walk. I came back and had my healthy smoothie. So I am raring to go tonight. And thank you to all of you that have tuned in and are still tuned in. It's been amazing, and I'm not honored, Denise, that you would consider me to be a part of the HIPP About Health movement. And to all of you that work behind the scenes, God bless you. To Dwayne and all of you, God bless you all. Now, as just going to check my watch to see how long I've got right. I'm a preacher, so preachers can go on a long time. So I'm going to be respectful of the time. And as Denise said, I'm on the board, but my history in very brief is I'm founder and senior pastor of Faith Tabernacle Church. I founded that ministry 17 years ago. But prior to that, when I was 16 years of age, in school, in fact, younger than that, I actually started doing martial arts. And martial arts led me to go into weight training. Weight training led me to go into bodybuilding. I actually was training to enter competition. So there was a point in my time when I was actually training to the point where I wanted to compete in bodybuilding competition. I didn't actually compete because I didn't want to take steroids, because most bodybuilders in those days, they were taking steroids, and I didn't want to take steroids. So I stayed away from it, but I continued to work out. had a very successful career as a salesman. And then just before I got married, I decided that I didn't want to continue being a salesman. So I thought, what do I want to do? I said, I love working out. When I was in the gyms, loads of people would ask me for advice about how to do this and how to do that. So I quit my sales job and went off to the YMCA and became a qualified fitness instructor. And then I embarked on a career where I worked in gyms for 4 years. My final gym position was managing a gym. In fact, I was managing 2 gyms and I had 15 staff working underneath me. So that was my earlier years. In between all of that, God showed up. And those of you that know God, God showed up with a vengeance and changed everything. Having been raised in a household that believed in God, but I didn't go to church. When I got married 23 years ago, and I'm still happily married to this day, I didn't want to get married in church. I completely rejected the church. I used every single argument that you've ever used or you've ever heard, discounting the validity of the church and discounting Christianity. I used every argument, and then God intervened in a very dynamic and supernatural way and turned my life around. I became a Christian. I got hungry for the word of God. I pursued the word of God with a passion. 2.5 years after giving my life to Christ, God spoke to me and says, I want you to preach my word. In other words, I want you to lead a church. I thought, God, you're crazy. I don't want to do that, number one. And number two, why on earth are you using me? And then 4.5 years after I became a believer, God told me to leave my church, leave my career, and start a church. And that's what I'm doing to this day. But along the way, the Lord spoke to me again about health and wellness. And it's something, and he spoke to me specifically to speak to the church. Now, that is possibly going to be the toughest audience to talk to, because we, for some inexplicable reason, in my earlier years of Christianity, my earlier years of walking with a health and wellness ministry, I couldn't understand why the church was so reticent towards health and wellness. You know, we'll run to a healing crusade and we go to church and we're looking for someone to testify about how God healed them of cancer and supernatural. But there was for some reason we were not actually taking care of our own health. It's interesting. Whilst I am watching everything that's going on, there is a funeral service taking place right now in Dominica, and it's of a young man who I know. Hi. Yeah, you know, as Christians, we say the devil is a liar. I'm assuming that my internet connection went. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear and see you loud and clear now.
Yeah. So I was just telling my wife who's in the home to just switch everything off there. I have a very strong Wi-Fi signal here, very, very strong. But sometimes it just, well, we know Wi-Fi anyway. So I realized there was a real reticence towards the health and wellness message within the church. People didn't seem to be interested in it. And the Bible is absolutely replete with information about health and wellness. And something that I always say to people, I heard a great man of God say this, that whenever you move away from the original purpose for a thing, it becomes open to abuse. And God gave us a template of how we are to do things, but we have deviated away from it. And the moment you deviate away from the original purpose for a thing, again, as I said earlier, it becomes open to abuse. So we have now gone away in many instances from God's original plan for us, and particularly as it pertains to diet and nutrition and health and wellness. So just a few little facts. I haven't prepared a presentation. I'm a preacher. I should be able to keep you focused on me as I speak. And I also want to say this, if you're on here and you're not a Christian, you don't believe in the Bible, the information in the Bible is still sound and factual. I had a very dear friend of mine who's now passed away, gone on to be with the Lord. And he was a medical doctor in the United States of America, and he was doing very, very well in his medical practice. When he was 8 years of age, his mother, for his Christmas, all his siblings got toys and games. For his 8th birthday, he was given a Bible and a medical journal. And he was furious with his mum and dad, but he went on to be a very successful medical doctor in United States of America. But he always had the biblical foundation. So like what Paul Taylor was saying, that we need to give people the truth about health and wellness from a natural perspective. We need to give them the truth. And he did that from the Bible perspective. But he also says, if you didn't want to listen to the Bible perspective, you can come and see me wearing my white coat and pay me $150 an hour, and I will happily look after you. But either way, I have the information. So, the Bible is, so if you don't believe in the Bible, you don't believe in Christianity, the Bible still has some foundational facts and truth that are relevant to this day. So, and it speaks quite strongly about health and wellness. So if you look, for example, there are 274 verses in the King James Version which use the word meat, and that it translates as the word food. There's 274 verses. The first time we see anything to do with food is in Genesis chapter 1, which is the very first book, very first chapter of the beginning of the Bible. There are 583 verses containing the word eat in the Bible, and 455 of those are in the Old Testament. The first time the Bible mentions the word food is in Genesis 2:9. The first time it mentions the word eat is in Genesis 2, in the terms of specifically about eating things. And we know that the book of Leviticus sets out the Old Testament dietary laws. So what we have to realize is that what we eat is important to God, because he sets out telling us what to eat from the very, very beginning. In fact, after God creates humans, the first thing he tells the human after he blesses the human is what to eat. That's the first thing he does. It's quite amazing. You look at Genesis 1:29, he blesses the human being, and then he tells them what to eat. And interestingly, in verse number 30, the next verse, he tells the animals what to eat. So clearly, nutrition is important to God, clearly. And he's very specific in terms of what he says to eat. He says to the human being, I've given you every herb that yields seed, and also trees whose fruits yield seed. So it's very specific as to what we should eat. And again, in Genesis 1:30, he tells the animals what they should eat, every green herb for food. Now, this is an interesting one. I was watching a program a couple of years ago, fascinating program about New York City. And, different people like different places in the world. I like New York City. In fact, I was there last year. And this documentary was about how New York City works. And one of the things that New York City is famous for is steak. But clearly it's a city. It doesn't have any green land to cultivate cows. But we know upstate New York, they have cattle farms there, but the majority of the meat is coming from the central and the Midwest of the United States of America. And one of the things that they were speaking to one of the cattle farmers was, he was saying that the cows loved, there was 3 things that the cows loved to eat. And 2 of them, one of them was breakfast cereal and the other one was chocolate. So they were feeding cows breakfast cereal and chocolate on top of all of the antibiotics and all the hormonal drugs that they're giving them to fatten them up artificially. When God in his word told the animals, you must eat the herbs for food. So it's interesting that God speaks at the very, very outset of the creation of humanity. He tells us what to eat. So clearly it is important to God. And likewise, it should then clearly be important to us. So as we move on, it's interesting that we then see God move tact slightly. We know Genesis chapter 1 gives us the overview of creation. We know that Genesis chapter 2 gives us a little specificity of creation. And we now know in Genesis chapter 3, that is the introduction of the fall of man, when man rebels against God. And that's where the beginning of the trouble starts. You move away from the original purpose for a thing, and we can see the chaos that the world is in right now. And so when the human being sinned, God spoke to the male of the human species. And he says, because you have heeded the voice of your wife and have eaten from the tree of which I commanded you. So it's interesting that sin entered through what we eat. That's quite interesting. As a Christian, we think about sin entering, but it came into the human DNA from what we ate. They ate the fruit, and eating introduced sin. Interesting. So then God says, cursed is the ground for your sake. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life. So here we go again, where sin entered in by what we eat, and eating would be now something that we would do all in toil all the days of our life. And then he goes on in verse number 18 of Genesis 3. He says, both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth, which is the earth, and you shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your face you shall eat bread. So now this is the first time we see something that we can eat that is not grown from the ground. And so now we have the introduction of all sorts of strife, because we're now eating things that have no, some of the food items that I see on my shelf in my supermarket, when you look at the ingredients, there's no food in the ingredient. It's quite amazing. I was showing somebody a very famous and well-known cake brand in the United States of America. It begins with the letter T, and simple, and when you look at the sell-by date on it, you put it on your shelf, and the sell-by date is like 15 years time. So clearly that's not food. So we can see that food is hugely important to God, and as a result of our falling away from God and our moving away from his original template of nutrition, we have fallen so far away that we're now suffering. The church suffers from diabetes. When I hear Christians say, I've got diabetes, and those of you that walk around any ministry where it talks about being a man or a woman of faith, you don't say anything. You don't claim anything. You don't claim sickness on your body. You claim that you're healed by God's stripes. So people are saying, I've got diabetes, I've got high blood pressure. I heard somebody say that high blood pressure runs in the family. And I heard somebody say, actually, high blood pressure doesn't run in your family. What runs in your family is poor nutrition and a lack of movement and exercise. That's what runs in your family. So therefore, you now are all suffering from the same thing, because you're all eating the same diet and you're all living relatively sedentary lives. And so we can see that God is interested in our bodies. Why is this so important? And this is really where I want to get to the crux of what I'm saying today, for those of you that are Christian, but is also relevant if you are not. As Christians, we know that we are in a spiritual battle. We're waging a war with the enemy. And when you become a Christian, the Bible uses this term, Jesus uses this term, says you are born again. So you are born of the spirit and the water, you are born again. And as he was speaking to Nicodemus in John chapter 3, Nicodemus was saying, I'm a big grown man. How can I re-enter my mother's womb? He said, no, this is a spiritual new birth. So when you are born again, when you become a Christian, your spirit is pure, your spirit is reconnected to God, your spirit is holy, and your spirit is untouchable by the enemy. It's untouchable. The enemy cannot touch your spirit when you are a child of God, when you've given your life to Jesus Christ. The enemy cannot touch your spirit, but what he can touch is your physical body. So that's exactly what he will do. So if you think about those of you that know the story of Job, Satan comes before God and says, God says, what are you doing here? And then God says to Satan, I'm going around trying to destroy the world, but I'm not getting success, or I am getting success. But so God says to him, have you considered my servant Job? And then they have a conversation, and then God says, you can, all right, then go after Job, but you cannot take his life. Now, the reason why God could say that was because he knew that the spirit part of Job was absolutely pure, and the spirit part of Job would win through in the end. So even when Job put physical boils and physical infirmity on him, the spirit part of him stood strong. And so what the enemy wants us to do is move away from our spiritual perspective, tackle us with our health, give us infirmity, give us sicknesses, get us to say things like, I've got this and I've got that, which denies the work of faith in our life to then get us to get to that place of healing. But not only if it's not supernatural healing, but it is the healing that comes from information. The information that I've heard this afternoon, particularly from Terry and Paul Taylor, because it's on a technical level and it's stuff that I already know, but that information will change my life. Now, I don't need to be spiritual for that information to change my life. But if I understand that health and wellness also includes your spirit and your soul, you will then understand that it's vital that we combine the three. Health and wellness is about being healthy and well in body, soul, and spirit. I know some amazing people who look fantastic. They look young, they look fit, they look healthy, but their soul and their spirit is horrible. We all know people like that. Or somebody who's got a beautiful spirit. You say that person's got such a lovely spirit, but they are trapped in a body of infirmity and affliction. I knew an awesome preacher years ago, amazing preacher of the gospel, amazing missionary. He would travel to Africa and minister, but he would come to our church with walking sticks. He couldn't stand up through the whole service, and when he came up to preach, he would have to hold on to the platform to preach, and then he'd have to sit in his wheelchair afterwards. And eventually his physical infirmities took his life. His spirit man could preach up a storm, but physically. So we need to take care of the physical man so that we can maximize the power of the spirit man. Let me say that again. We need to take care of the physical man so that we can maximize the power of the spirit man. And again, if you are a business person, you could be, if we look at, I use Steve Jobs as an example, the founder of Apple, co-founder of Apple, an incredible visionary, created one of the biggest companies in the world of Apple, passed away at 56. His physical body could not live any longer, and he died at 56. So we have to realize that as brilliant as he was, as brilliant as he is, his physical body let him down, if I use that term. So, and as Christians, it is vital, because as we know in the book of Ephesians, the Bible says our fight is not against flesh and blood. We're not fighting against people. We're not fighting against political parties. We are fighting a spiritual battle. And it's a spiritual battle that we were created to win in Christ. But if we do not have a body that can also perform on the earth in conjunction with our spirit, we will have a problem. And again, as I say, health and wellness is about spirit, soul, and body. When we look at what was said earlier on, we know that exercise releases endorphins, and endorphins are good for you. They help you. They make you a better person. So there is so much that has been said that complements everything. What, you know, when we listen to what Terry was saying about micronutrients, God says eat fruit and eat green stuff. And then then he says to the animals, you only eat the green stuff. So now, as Terry said in her slides, that, you know, we can get macronutrients out of proteins from red meat. There are all those out there saying, oh, we shouldn't eat meat. Oh, we shouldn't eat meat. The reality is, if the animals that we are eating ate what God told them to eat, and if we put less pollutants and chemicals into the atmosphere, the meat that we eat would be healthy, because even Jesus ate meat. So there is nothing wrong with eating meat. It's just that it has to be the pure source. And I know a question was asked earlier on, how do we know that the seed that we are sowing is actually healthy? But these are the things that we have to then, as I think Paul Taylor said, is do your research in where you're buying the products from. So we can see, sorry, just getting my notes back up here. The Bible tells us in 1 Corinthians 6:19 and 20, or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and you are not your own. So this body is not mine. It belongs to God. So therefore, I need to honor God by taking care of my body. For you were bought at a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God. So God is telling me that my body and my spirit belong to him. So therefore, I must honor him by taking care of it. A lot of people say, I don't have the time to exercise. Well, I watched our brother earlier, Leon. Was it Leon? Is that your name? Lance, sorry. I knew it was an L. Apologies, Lance. I watched Lance do a workout in his living room. Now, when I did my health and wellness, when I did my fitness qualification, I was trained to train people to exercise without gym equipment. So that's how I was trained. So people say, you know, I can't remember, his colleague said, you know, when you sit down and stand up, that you can use that as an exercise. When you're walking up and down the stairs, you can use that as an exercise. There are so many things that we can do that can be effective, and it's a whole health approach. And so we've got to realize, and again, if I speak to those that are Christian on here, you've got to realize that God needs you to fight a spiritual battle, and the spiritual battle you were created to win. But the challenge is that if your body is weak, if it's sick, if it's infirmed, it is much, much harder for you to fight that physical battle. We see that when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane and he told the 3 disciples, I'm going to go and pray. I need you to come and pray with me, but you stay here and I'll go over there and I'll pray. And then he comes back to them, finds them asleep. And he says, what, could you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray lest you enter into temptation. The spirit is indeed willing, but the flesh is weak. And so it lets me know that for me to minimize my weak flesh from affecting my spiritual journey, I've got to take care of this flesh to the best of my ability. I've got to use the information that Lance gave us in terms of movement and physical exercise. I've got to use the information that Terry gave us about micronutrients. And I've got to use the information that Paul Taylor gave about letting us understand the narrative that is being sold to us is effectively a lie. And then we renew our mind, as the Bible says, with the truth of natural medicine and macronutrients and exercise, and also getting enough sleep, also having positive people around. I got excited when Denise invited me to be a speaker. I got excited to know that Paul Taylor was coming back and Terry was coming. I got excited because I know I'm going to hear some stuff that's going to stir me up. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go downstairs and tell my wife what I've learned. I'm going to pass that information on. And so what HIPP is doing is tremendous. And wherever you are in the world watching this, You need to grab the information for yourself, realize it for yourself, and you need to go out there and share it with other people. And remember that as Christians, we are supposed, the world needs the light of Christ like never before. The US elections, the lockdown, the impending Brexit, which is coming on the 1st of January, economic and political turmoil around the world. The world needs the truth of the gospel of Jesus Christ like never before. And it needs us as Christians to be healthy and well in body, soul, and spirit. And so what we've got to do is recognize that it is vitally important. The responsibility for me taking care of this body rests with me. I have to take care of it. I've got to make sure that my soul is restored. We could have talked about that for another hour. When David writes, he restores my soul. A lot of the problems that we have, the emotions, the hurts, the pain, the abuse, the rejection, that's in our soul that needs to be healed. We need soul restoration, because when you restore your soul and your spirit is well with the Lord and your body is healthy and well, you are living in the totality of what Jesus came when he says, I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly, have it to the full, another version says. And that's what I live. I live life to the full. You know, apart from the, you know, the gray hair, I've been rebuking the gray hair for the last 10 years and it's just staying gray. It's not working. I'm laying hands on myself and saying, in the name of Jesus, go back to being black, and it's not working. So I've just resigned myself that to keep it cut as low as possible, my barber is shut now, or just to make the rest of me live and exude the glory of God so that my gray hair doesn't make me look old, and although it's not a problem. So we've got to use what we've learned today and use what HIPP is promoting and preaching, so that we can be the salt and the light in the world, because that is what the world needs. It needs to see us as believers living healthy and well. It needs to see us as believers living the full life, the abundant life that Jesus died on the cross for us to have. With, you know, our destination ultimately is heaven, but we are still here because we have a message that the world needs to hear. And we've got to do it as effectively as possible with a healthy countenance, both physically and mentally and spiritually. So I want to encourage you, because as I say, I'm a preacher and I'm going to stop now because I could go on, that Jesus said this, the thief comes to steal, kill and destroy, but I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. Go back to the original plan of God. Go back to what he said in his word and use that as a foundation with all the tremendous information that you've heard this afternoon, this evening, and you build on that, and you will see not only your life transformed, but you'll see your family life transformed, and you will see your church's life transformed, and you will see people who do not know Jesus want to know, what is it about you? Why are you always so positive? Why do you look so healthy? Why do you look so young? Why do you look so effervescent? And you'll tell them it's Jesus. And that will be so attractive to them. They might walk away, but some of them will think, no, I want that because I'm not happy. And so God bless you. And over to you, Denise.
Thank you very much, Pastor. It's always awesome hearing you speak, and I love your passion for health. And you know, it's great to have you on our team. So yes, thank you very much for that. And I know we saved the foundation of what HIPP believes to almost at the end. And we did unfortunately lose probably about 30% of our attendees, but it's going to be available online, so they're going to be able to see it. So thank you very much. I didn't see any questions pop up, so I will assume that we don't have any questions. And your presentation was comprehensive, and I think very, very much that people can just take it on board and run with it. So thank you very much for that, Kevin. I am going to hand over now to my hubby. He's also part of our strategy team. So he's going to just be closing us off, giving some closing remarks. So over to you, Dwayne.
Hello, and good day to all of you. I hope you indeed enjoy the many presentations that were shared with you today. I myself found them quite informative, insightful, and clearly at times challenging. I have properly documented the fitness session so that I could up my game in terms of my own fitness here right at home. All of the sessions, as I said, I found very useful, and I hope you too had a takeaway or two from this session today, this webinar today. I mean, that's the whole point of attending these activities. It's not simply to hear some new information, but I think we're more effective and we can progress on our own individual journeys as we put into practice some of the things we hear. So my encouragement and my suggestion to you would be have a couple of takeaways, and as Denise suggested, we will have this entire webinar. It's been recorded and it would be made available to you. So if you need to have a little listen again, that would be good. But I would just want to say a big thank you to all of the presenters today. And of course, none of this would have been possible without you, the participants. We thank you for your questions that have not been completely answered. I would suggest you get involved, if you're not already involved, in the HIPP About Health community and platform, and get involved in the activities there, because a lot of the conversations that might have been initiated, started on answered questions, you can go to that community and post your questions and have them answered. That's the whole idea, you know, in this world that is clearly changing and is unlikely to go back to exactly the way it was prior to March. We need to take advantage of the technologies that are at our disposal and utilize them. And today, the HIPP About Health community or organization produces or offers you an online health and well-being community that you can be a part of, you can be plugged into, and you can receive some support regardless of your particular health journey. Indeed, listening to the immune system, and I just want to probably rattle through a couple of them, but I thought the whole idea of washing my hands with the antibacterial wash was quite interesting. The fact that it might not be as effective as I thought it was, you know, the differences between bacteria and viruses. Again, good things for us to be aware of so that when we have conversations, we can be a bit more informed as we share some of the things that hopefully we would have learned today. Paul's presentation was interesting indeed, challenging. I would encourage you to, again, sign up in terms of membership so that you can get more information. The truth is, you've got to look for information today. The internet and all the various websites out there, the electronic world or the cyberspace, as you may want to refer to it as, is filled with a plethora of information, and you need to be careful of what types of information you take. But here at HIPP, we try to get good, credible, science-based and faith-based, as we were hearing from Kevin, information to share with you, information that is credible, information that is authentic. So another good reason to get involved, because sometimes the institutions and maybe even the governments that we're supposed to be trusting and expecting them to deliver a level of care to us as citizens and stuff like that, they don't necessarily do that because there are lots of competing priorities in their own minds when they make decisions about the information they share. So we try to bring information that's, in a sense, vetted to some extent, and information that will benefit you. So another plug really to tell your friends about it, join yourself, join the membership of hippabouthealth.com, but also encourage others to join so that you too could be better informed and start some local activities in your area. Before we actually close, I just want to list a couple of activities that the HIPP About Health community has planned in the immediate future. So there is the HIPP About Health Social Network Tour. That's on the 21st of November this month. So again, if you go to the website, you'll get the full schedule, but it's an opportunity to have a tour as to what is available on the platform, what you can get involved in, what you can start yourself. But it's a lot of fun, but also there's a lot of information to help you. There are a lot of courses. You heard a lot today about cellular medicine and nutrition. There are lots of courses that helps us to build our own understanding and, in a sense, better take care of our own selves. The idea, our GPs or health professions don't have sole responsibility of taking care of us. We're the ones with the primary responsibility of taking care of ourselves. And again, HIPP About Health helps us to get in a place where we can actually access that information so that we can be more effective and better stewards of our health. So there's also and I think Dennis mentioned this earlier, I'll just repeat it again though, there's a Let's Get Physical at Home on the 5th of December. That's with the same group that you saw, led by Lance today. That's going to be quite an interesting and engaging session, and hopefully come prepared to burn a few calories and probably build and strengthen on that core set of activities, fitness activities that you can do in the comfort of your home or in your yard. The final thing that I want to alert you to is the HIPP About Health starts a 21-day detox and reset challenge in the new year. The 11th of January it starts to the 31st of January. 21 days. But again, we do a lot of things in the new year. We reset, and after 2020, there have been lots of, I guess, challenges. Obviously, the obvious one is the pandemic that we've all been grappling with. But it's not a time to, in a sense, retreat and stuff like that. We need to really be preparing and having a plan to really take advantage of all the opportunities that 2021 will present. And we need the right mindset to do all of that. So I believe that the 21-day reset challenge would really help us to reset, in a sense, our minds, reset our plans, all that we've got planned in terms of our health goals and health objectives for 2021. So again, that's another good event for you to plug into and get involved. So as I said, loads more are on the website for you to see and for you to get involved in. There's also a Facebook page that we have, Hip About Health. You can check that, like that, and again, you'll get messages. One of the things that I will say as well is that all the participants of today's webinar will get free membership for 1 month, starting from tomorrow. So you'll receive an email in your inboxes detailing or giving you instructions as how you can use that month of free membership. Hopefully you'll take that up and you'll be hooked, and we will be able to consider you members for as long as you want to be there beyond that month. So looking forward to seeing you on the other side of the platform, the Hip About Health platform. But again, a great and big thank you to all of you for participating. We really appreciate the time you would have given up today, and see you next time.
Henrietta, you wanted to add something?
Just to encourage, I know it has been a lot to take in at once today, but I'm hoping that there are a few nuggets at least that participants will leave with in mind. And of course, they can use their 1 month free membership to look into all the other services and products that we have available. But I do encourage everyone to think seriously about becoming hip about your health if you're not already. With the knowledge that you have gained today, I'm sure that you see the way a little bit clearer, you understand a little bit more. That is not about the huge things and the big steps, but that the baby steps will do. As long as you understand that it needs to be done and you get moving on it, then I think that you are on your way. And remember, it's about mind, body, and spirit. So you need to also look at it holistically. Have a great weekend and a great new week.
Hi, I'm Denise Paris, co-founder of Hip About Health. And a lot of people ask us, what does Hip About Health mean? Now, HIP means that you're hopeful, that you're informed, that you're prayerful, and you're proactive about your health. Are you hip about your health?
I'm Joy, and I'm hip about my health.
Hi everyone, I'm Marissa Prophet and I'm hip about my health.
I am Gail and I'm hip about my health.
Hi, I'm Melissa and I'm hip about my health.
My name is Tony Stewart and I'm hip about my health.
I'm Stacy and I'm hip about my health.
I'm Khadija and I'm hip about my health.
I am Sandra and I'm hip about my health.
Hi, I'm Chandel Gums and I'm hip about my health.
Hi, I'm Alison Chester, and I'm hip about my health.
Hi, I'm Marsha Rose and I'm hip about my health.
My name is Dwayne Paris, and I'm hip about my health.
My name is Desiree Edgel, and I'm hip about my health.
I am Natasha, and I am hip about my health.
I am Charlene Prince, and I am hip about my health.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Gunrad, and I'm hip about my health.
My name is Carly, and I'm hip about my health.